undercover terrorist organization. That's what it turned into, at least, since they pay for terrorists. They have a pay for slay process over there that they do.
Okay, where did you get this information?
This is literally a known fact worldwide. Look up pay for
can you give me
slay.
a slice?
Look up pay for slay Palestinian Authority.
Okay. Pay for slay. So this is the pay for slay was tolerated to some extent for the foundation of the PA in 1998 until the murder of American citizens. And that, okay, what is pay for slay by this definition? The most outrageous financial crime perpetrated is stipends to members of families of jailed or slain terrorists through what they call their martyr fund. So they pay the families of jailed terrorists. So they don't pay the people. Not defensible though. This is bad. Yeah. It is deeply rooted in.
It's literally called a martyr fund. They literally pay the family.
The government of Israel plays an important enforcement role in this process.
Okay.
So that's off of congressional testimony in 2023. So
okay, it's literally called.
So that's off to. Let's see.
It's literally called martyr fund. If this isn't a reason, okay, if you think about it, since there's so many people in the Gaza Strip who are Palestinians who don't really have, anything because of Hamas, they're willing to go out and try to carry out terrorist attacks because they know that their family is going to have a better life if they murder Israeli civilians. This is the way that they convince them to kill people on our side.
Oh, and it's now run by the PLO.
Okay, the PA. So
the Martyrs Fund is no longer affiliated with the PA. It's part of the PLO, which you and I agreed we don't really support. And it also sent out funds to innocent bystanders killed during violent events. So it did quite a bit. It did have, quite some nasty bits, which we can get more information on. I would test as far as I could tell, but it's not even run by the PLO,
by the PA,
or by the PA anymore.
Okay, this is not true. I can tell you for a matter of fact, the PA still continues to pay terrorist families that killed Israeli civilians.
I mean, they don't seem to.
Okay, I know that you think that they don't seem to, but I can tell you this for a matter of fact because I can tell you for a matter of fact because this is actually something I take a large part of research in with all of the organizations I work with. Okay. And I work with a lot of organizations about this. And this is a known fact. This is a known fact. They even admit to it. They admit to it themselves that they pay and they thank the martyrs for their sacrifice to the Palestinian people by killing innocent Israeli civilians. Okay. So,
I mean, I just read you off the actual information regarding.
Okay.
So I don't have to support the PA, but you claimed that 80% of Gazans supported Hamas, right? And then you pointed me to what is effectively a propaganda wing of the IDF, right? It's not officially associated as you well recognize, but it's full of the members, see duck, say duck, but that's wrong. That's not true. That's well known to be a lie. I mean, every other independent organization that has ever looked into this has shown that they don't support it, right? At least at 80%. The 2006 election, 44% of them voted for Gaza. That's for Hamas. That's about, half as much as you suggested. Is she off or is she just, her phone probably died, didn't she? Fun. Wow, truly so many people in guest requests. Well. Okay, everyone. What should I do? That was a really, really good discussion. Yeah, so let's set out the rules of this again. Any anti-Semitic statements being made, anything against Jewish people, don't say in my comments. That's despicable and I don't support it. I have Jewish family. I come from a Jewish heritage. That's unacceptable, and I don't support it. I won't ever, right? But if anyone wants to disagree, come send a guest request. We can talk. Follow me up here. Please do take 2 seconds and go onto my YouTube. It's in the link in my bio. I'm going to upload this pretty quickly to my YouTube, hopefully, as soon as I can, probably within 1 or 2 days. So if y'all want to watch it, then I will have it up there. Thank you to everyone who sent gifts. I also do have my cash in my bio, which helps, spend time on this, but gifts also do boost the live the most, and that's really, really helpful. So yeah. Let's do that. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
I'm actually in Tel Aviv right now, and
Wild.
I disagree with you on everything you're stating, basically, mostly. So
okay, cool.
I'd like to ask you firstly, what do you suggest Israel should be doing in response to the October 7th massacre? Like, what do you suggest would be a fair response?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, they should follow their international obligations, right? I think that's the lowest of the low bars that they should do, right? So they shouldn't violate international law. They shouldn't commit war crimes that they've committed themselves to not violating. Next, I believe that it's relatively clear that their actions within Palestine, consistent bombardment, is going to cause undue civilian casualties, right, and not actually reduce the risk of extremists or militant extremists in the area, right? So I would advocate what I've advocated for a very long time in the Middle East, which is the only thing that's ever really been shown to work, which is working with their Western allies and whichever Arabs they could convince are materially beneficial, right, to establish a trustee state within the area. That has actually been shown to reduce terroristic organizations within that area.
But do you not believe there should be retaliation for such an awful massacre?
Yeah, so I just believe in effective retaliation, right? So what did we do in Pakistan to get Osama bin Laden, right? There were terrorist organizations in Pakistan. Pakistan probably knew about it as well. So did probably Saudi Arabia, right? What did we do? We sent in special forces to actually attempt to reduce the specific terrorist threat directly, right? But we didn't mass bomb homes, right? Because that's actually what is slightly more effective. And that actually effectively got rid of that leader. And then we attempted to establish, the problem we did was we established a trustee state by America. I'm advocating an Arab trustee state in that place. So I'd say they do what actually works, not what makes them, what justifies the ethno-state.
Well, we've attempted many things in the past that were nowhere close to the measure we're taking now, and it hasn't worked. More diplomatic ways have not worked. Sorry?
Never in good faith have you attempted to stabilize the region. It's actually been
within
Israel's foreign policy to destabilize the region consistently, right? That's why Netanyahu himself recognized that it was his internal policy to tacitly support Hamas.
We can agree the past 20 years. The current prime minister of Israel is a horrible person, and I absolutely believe that. But there have been many prior prime ministers that were amazing people that just wanted a two-state solution, and it didn't happen because Palestinians refused. So that's
Did they ever offer a two-state solution in proportion to actual population?
I would have to research that, honestly.
Never. No, yeah, never did they. They never did. It's never happened. And So here's the difficulty with that is when we talk about the former two-state solutions, that's why I say they're not in good faith, right? They value having a Zionist ethno-state over human lives. And when we see that's what is costing human lives. And that's why the question of, well, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't support an ethno-state in the first place. And because their hand has been forced, right, by merit of them wanting an ethno-state to commit war crimes like this. But the reason I referenced Netanyahu is because he did speak at least some truth in that he was mask off. He said that Israel has been tacitly supporting Hamas within Gaza to destabilize Fatah.
Oh, Netanyahu never said that.
Yeah, he's referenced the support of Islamic jihadists within Gaza to reduce the power of the PLO. He did.
Could you show me proof of that? Because I've never heard that. And I just have another question. Do you believe Israel shouldn't exist as a whole?
What do you mean? In what way?
As a country, a Jewish state for Jewish people in the Middle East.
I don't believe that any religion should have an ethno-state. I don't believe that any ethnicity should have an ethno-state. So I don't support ethno-states.
But what if you're being persecuted worldwide and you need one safe place, which isn't even safe? Like, I heard you say before, you have Jewish family, right? So I'm assuming they are not wearing their Magen David necklaces or kippas or anything because it's dangerous right now. Every time I talk to my family, we have to, like, are you okay? Are you safe? Don't show that you're Jewish. You know what I mean?
Well, to be clear, they're ethnically Jewish and they're not practicing Jews. It just means they have access. They, like my parents and my grandparents, can claim Israeli citizenship. That's why I talk about it. They're not practicing Jews. The farthest back practicing Jews, my great grandfather. But so I agree. There's anti-Semitism. The interesting thing is ethno-states just breed more violence. Right?
You know,
they just breed more violence, and we know they just breed more violence.
I'm not. I wasn't born Jewish. Okay, so I was born and raised Christian in Peru, actually, and I moved to Israel when I was older, and I've been living here for 6 years. And amongst the process, I chose to convert to Judaism because I've seen Israel. I witnessed it. I know how it works, how life is within Israel, and I've met so many Arab Palestinians within Israel that are like living with us, coexisting very, very, very peacefully. It's not true.
Wait, but that's fine. But it is, you're recognizing it's an ethno-state. You can on one side recognize an ethno-state and then on the other deny the consequences of that. Right? So you can't have an ethno-state without having an ethno-state. So what does it mean for it to be a Jewish state other than an ethno-state?
I believe the reason why I wish a Jewish state was not necessary. But anti-Semitism worldwide is raging so badly, besides the point that Israel was created after the Holocaust, which was like a very urgent measure for Jews to be safe in the world at the time. I understand the current government is not ideal, and many, many, many Palestinians have to suffer because of that, in great part.
But the thing is it wasn't just motivated by keeping Jews safe.
Well, what's happening now, you're saying?
No. The foundation of Israel wasn't just motivated by keeping Jews safe. It's a dishonest history to suggest that it was primarily oriented at keeping Jews safe.
And what was it oriented to, according to you?
According to the founder of Israel, right? It was to reinstate or to express the right of Jews to have that land on the basis of their theological and ethnic claims, right, of indigeneity to that land. It's not just to do with safety. Some of the reasons that other people supported, right, Zionism was for safety, right? They recognized that they needed a place to be safe. But the reason they chose that particular plot of land, right, because they believed it to be their promised land, and they believed it to be their birthright on the basis of them having been kicked out of it almost 2,000 years ago, right? That's not safety, right? That's a different foundation mythos than safety is.
But where else would you suggest we would have created a country where Jews can be safe, other than the one place we are
I don't
actually
believe in ethno-states.
Okay.
So,
okay. Nowhere. But what do you suggest?
We could talk about it. There are plenty of safer places. There were lots of suggestions, right? If we're talking about it coming out of the Holocaust, carve a part out of Germany, right? Like that seems like the logical approach, right? Like if we're going to talk about it, it seems like the logical approach to say, hey, the people that we're, that by and large victimize them, let's punish those people and take their land, right? They were willing to carve out countries, so let's just carve a bit out of their country, and then they're in Europe, which is by and large one of the much more safe by and large than the Middle East. It's much more stable, right? They could gain small country protections like they do for Luxembourg and Liechtenstein, right, who are some of the richest and most successful countries in the world, right? Like that seems like one of the best places for them to do it, right? But that's not what they did, because they put their religious and historical claims and their religious convictions above their own safety, right? But that's why the discussion of safety is a bit of a non sequitur.
But that's the same thing Palestinians are doing. They're putting their beliefs and their right, their indigenous right to the land above the indigenous rights of Jews on the land, because the land is ethnic to both Jews.
Oh, cool. So then you should you shouldn't found a Jewish state in that area. You should find a multi-ethnic state in that area.
Allowed. You know how many Arab countries there are in the world? There's so many.
Wait, but we're talking about this land, and you're recognizing that Palestinians are indigenous and have a right to that land as well, right?
But are you aware, like I assume you are, because you're hosting a debate, but Palestine was never a country, an independent country.
Well, but Israel in its current form was never a country either, right? We had the kingdom of Judea, right, which was fundamentally different. It was also multi-ethnic.
No, it wasn't a country. I'm not saying it was, but Israel is a country at the moment, and Palestine was not merely Muslim people, Arab people. There were Jews as well.
Yeah, so cool. So you're advocating a mono-ethnic ethno-state, right?
No,
that is theological. Okay, do you believe in a Jewish state in that area? Do you believe in a Jewish state for that area?
I believe there should be two states. A Palestinian state and a Jewish state, and there should be peace, and Palestinians should be able to live here, and vice versa. But that's unlikely to ever happen. But that's what I would like.
Okay, cool. You believe in a two-state solution?
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable giving up, I don't know, a proportion of the land in proportion to the population when Israel was originally founded in the 1940s?
Peace in the region? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And do you believe there can ever be peace as long as Zionists, right, believe that the whole of that land, right, is belonging to them and not of theirs?
But I believe you're mistaking the meaning of Zionism, because it doesn't have to be the whole of the land. I consider myself a Zionist, and it doesn't have to be extreme. You don't have to take it to the extremes. It's not necessarily...
But that seems like the natural conclusion, right?
I mean, Zionism is mainly the idea that we believe we have a right to exist here, which is, I believe, nothing wrong with that.
Right, but it needs the refounding of Jewish control, right? Zionism historically and politically is not that. But great, so you're advocating a two-state solution, and you would be comfortable with Israelis only controlling roughly like 30% of the land in that area, right?
If there was a way to actually have peace and actually coexist, yes.
Okay, and is that what Israel's been trying to do within the past 70 years?
For example, Rabin, I don't know if you know about Rabin. He was a prime minister in Israel many years ago. He was killed, and he was about to sign a two-state solution deal with the PA.
And was that two-state solution deal like fair in any way, shape, or form?
I believe it was. It was the most land we've ever offered in the history of the conflict, and it didn't go.
Just because it was the least unfair doesn't mean it was fair.
I understand what you're saying, but also you have to take into consideration that many of the extremism in this people, like Palestinians in general, of course, a lot of people are civilians and they're good people, but there's a lot of people that incline towards, Hamas and all these things. Actually, when you were
there are a lot of people that voted for Netanyahu who are quite despicable as well because they're killing more people.
Okay, but over 70% of the Israeli population at the moment is against him. Do you know there were protests all over the country before this war because no one agrees with Netanyahu?
No, I know, but by and large, Israel, there are still huge sects of Orthodox Zionists that call for expansions of Israel or at least maintenance of the current Israel, right? All of those are despicable beliefs as well.
I don't think that's representative of the majority of the population of Israel. I believe the majority
the majority population of Israel identifies Zionists.
I do myself, but I think you're twisting the meaning of Zionism.
And the majority of the population of Israel recognize that the current territory of Israel has the right to defend itself, right? Which would mean that the maintenance of the borders, which would be continuing the current oppression that happens due to those borders.
But are you aware, when the borders were not there, when the guards were not there, where it was a lot more of a coexisting amicably situation? There were so many suicide bombings, so many people were killed, people would blow up hospitals, schools, and we had to secure the area with checkpoints, to survive, And
has that secured the area?
A lot more than before, yes.
How many Palestinian deaths were involved in that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, how many Palestinian deaths have happened? So has there been an escalation in deaths of the conflict or a de-escalation of deaths in the conflict after the full blockade?
I would have to research that, but there's
been an escalation. There's been a drastic escalation in the deaths of the conflict.
That makes perfect sense, actually. So
So it didn't secure the area.
But it did.
It made the area more dangerous.
Israelis and words. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's secure. Oh, sorry. I forgot that we only care about Israelis.
No, that's not the case. That's not the case. But we do have to.
Let's not speak like we only care about Israelis.
I don't believe so. I think you'd need to be here and really experience the situation to understand it and grasp it more. Because the previous girl you were talking to, Eden, I think, what's her name? She was trying to explain to you, like, when you're here and you live it and you see it with your own eyes, you have an understanding that is so much deeper. Like, I heard you say to her many times that an IDF website is necessarily propaganda, which is not true.
It is necessary. Well, when they say we're in charge, like, I wouldn't trust a Department of Defense website. Right?
Why?
The American Department, because they lie all the time.
Show me proof of them lying
all the time.
Show me proof of lying. I've never seen
They've rescinded claims all the time. The 40 beheaded babies claim. Immediately.
That's not, bro, can I tell you something? During that attack, I lost people that I know, okay? And none of that is a lie. I've spoken to people.
No, but the 40 beheaded babies claim is a lie, right?
It's not.
They've been forced to rescind it. They've rescinded it.
It's not true. Can you show me Israel's saying it's not
true?
Israelis,
the official Israeli position is that they rescinded it. Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. We can look it up like in 2 seconds.
Yeah, please look it up. Because I only have my phone, and if I do, I'm gonna pause.
Rescinded. Oh.
And either way, if they were not 40 babies, do you think it really makes a difference? A single beheaded baby is insanity.
No, it's that they saw none.
That's not true. I've spoken to a person who survived, whom I know, who had to see the body of one of his friends who was pregnant. Her stomach was cut up. Her baby, unborn, was taken out and beheaded. And this is someone I know personally. So I think it's really narcissistic to think you understand better than the people who are seeing it with their own eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I understand better. That's why I don't want to fund it.
Okay, but I'm trying to explain things to you and tell you this happened, and you tell me, no, it didn't. But I know people that witnessed it, and you don't, you know?
Wait, that's the thing. If you don't think I'm competent enough to talk about this, you should support me.
No, when did I say I didn't think you were competent?
That's the thing. But if you don't think, the thing is, if it's about personal experience, if I just need to come there and understand, right?
No, it's not just about personal experience, but when I tell you something happened, you're really quick to say it didn't. And you have no proof.
I said that they walk back the claim.
But can you show me? That never happened.
Yeah, so Al Jazeera reported that they walk back the claim as well as the White House walking back the claim.
Okay, can I look it up myself and just to be sure, I want to see it.
There's no reason to pause the debate currently for this claim. It's not terribly important. But, I mean, Israel has been caught in lies before. I don't think anyone can deny that. The U.S. Department of Defense has been caught in lies before, right? We know they've been caught in lies before. That's why I don't believe them. I don't believe Israel because they're interested. That's why I don't believe Hamas either. Hamas has lied before. Any propaganda that they release, I'm not going to believe either, right? But all these people consistently lie. I'm not going to believe their own propaganda, which is admittedly propaganda to guide the narrative.
Fair and coherent to believe a democratic country than it is to believe a terrorist organization. One is clearly much more reliable than the other.
No, I'm not saying they're equally unreliable, right? What I'm saying is that they both lie all the time. And here's the thing is we have bars for this, right? We have independent news media. We have independent investigative journalism, right? That can report on it. Right. So when we talk about evidence, let's talk about the evidence from independent news media that doesn't have these biases or ingrained agendas. Right. Whereas Israel necessarily has these biases and ingrained agendas. They're founded on an ethno-religious myth. Right. The discussion of the myth of Jewish indigeneity.
But do you not recognize when you've been persecuted your entire history? That might create a need for something that's out of the ordinary, such as the creation of a Jewish state, which I would normally not agree with.
Has that made Jews safer?
I believe it does, yes. Israel is very much, it does, because I do live in Israel and I know how safe everyone around me feels as opposed to our home countries.
So me being per year currently, right? America is safer for Jews than Israel is.
America's not safe for Jews at the moment whatsoever.
It's safer for Jews than Israel is.
Are you sure of that?
1,300 Jews, or primarily Jewish people, died.
That was on a single day, during a massacre.
That's what I'm talking about within this year.
But on the daily, it's much more safe for a Jew to live in Israel than it is to live elsewhere. It's the only place you can be Jewish openly without being afraid.
Domestically. right? That's true. But when you're taking into a foreign accounts, when you're taking bombs being thrown at you, when you're taking consistently being invaded, right? Like Israel still plays the victim card, and it is backed up in some ways. Israel is not a very, very safe place by comparison to a lot of the Western countries, right? Like the likelihood of you being bombed in France is extraordinarily low, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if we look at the actual statistics, right, the proportion of the population that has died, right, who are Jewish, or the proportion of Jews in the population that have died, right, due to violent ends, is higher in Israel within this year, right, by comparison to America. So this is why I have a difficult time. Is also the safety of Jews was not the primary concern in founding Israel. So using it as the primary card to maintain Israel doesn't seem honest. They founded it there. They founded it there because they had a mythos of indigeneity. They didn't found it there because it was the safest place to found it, and they knew that, right? Like any reasonable person with 2 seconds of like a brain would know that like founding it in that area is going to lead to insecurity, going to lead to destabilization, going to lead to violence.
Extremism? Like, shall we promote the idea that Jews shouldn't be in the Middle East because it's not safe because the Arabs are not going to be integral? That's
no. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about reality. If we're talking about safety and that justifying the state, safety doesn't justify the state because they didn't found the state for safety.
Well, right. That depends on who you're asking, because I believe the Jewish population, I'm not talking about the government or the prime minister, the Jewish population, which are the people of Israel, are here for safety mostly. Yes, definitely. It's the one country.
Cool. And they look, but they could also be in a formerly German founded state. They could be in Guyana, which has its own indigenous people. They were given area in America.
Like, that's great.
But if I'm talking about the foundation of Israel, which is it's a political entity, it's a political body, right? So when we're talking about the foundation and maintenance of Israel, I'm going to talk about the state apparatus.
But why do you have something against the idea of destroying Hamas? That's like my main question.
I want to destroy Hamas. I'm sorry. I've consistently advocated what I actually think is the most effective way to de-radicalize and de-escalate the situation.
And what's your suggestion? Like, what do you suggest we should do to eradicate Hamas?
It's not about eradication. It's about de-escalation and destabilization. Because the honest thing is that if you get rid of all the Hamas leaders, if you could snap a finger and all Hamas people were unalived right now, a new organization would be ready within 10 years if it kept on going as it is, right? We know that, yes. Right? That's how Hamas came to power, right? Because they came after the PLO. We know that, right? So you're right. I'm not focused on snapping my fingers and all Hamas people doing. And I don't think anyone genuinely interested in peace is interested in that solution either, right? What I'm suggesting, and this is what I've suggested for a very long time, is that Israel, in good faith, reach out to the Western allies, of which they have quite a lot, and they try to materially incentivize Arab nations to set up a trustee state within that area, which is one of the only ways that we've actually ever seen foundations of institutions, because this will not be solved unless they have institutions within Palestine, which have been consistently destroyed by Israel. So the first step is they stop destroying the institutions. The second step is they allow Arabs to found a trustee state within that area to establish institutions to, allow for thriving and human growth within that area.
I understand saying bombing institutions or civilian buildings is a war crime, because it is. But if those buildings are built on top of a terror base, is it still a violation of human rights? I feel like it's much more complicated here than it is like elsewhere, other conflicts in the past in the world. It's not that simple. It's not the intentional bombing of civilian buildings.
It's intentional when they know that it'll happen.
Well, but do you know I don't remember the name at the moment, but there's a type of bomb that is like sent before the actual bomb that just like hits the top of the building as a warning, like it will not explode. So people can leave. I've heard of these.
And they give them what, like 60 seconds to leave?
No, it's much more than that. It's much more than that.
It's about 60 seconds. What is that called? It's like a.
I believe it's 20 minutes.
It's like a roof tap bomb. Israel. Roof knocking.
Roof knocking. Yes.
Okay, how long is it? Non-explosive or low yield. How long?
I'm pretty sure it's 20 minutes, but
okay. Typically, they claim 10 to 15 minutes to flee the attack. Okay. Although some delays have been as little as 5 minminutes.
Okay, but there's IDF units that solely their job is to call civilians by the phone and say, hey, we're gonna bomb this area and you should leave. That's a very humanitarian thing to do that no country has done during war.
So if Hamas roof knocked your house and told you had 15 minutes or 5 minutes to leave, right? But if they roof knocked your house, right, and said you had 5 minutes to leave, and they called you up, you know, a day before and said, hey, we're gonna bomb your house tomorrow, would you be okay with them?
Bro, if my house was on top of a terrorist base, perhaps. That's very extreme.
What if a extremist terrorist organization had built tunnels under your house, unbeknownst to you? Would you be okay with Hamas bombing your house?
Listen, Hamas already bombs our houses. We just have the Iron Dome. But answer my question. Would you be okay with it? Depending on the situation, as I said, if there was truly a terrorist movement going on underneath my house, I would be terrified. I would not feel safe. And perhaps yes, because that's not a home. Living on top of terrorists.
What if the IDF had built a tunnel under your house, unbeknownst to you?
But
what if there was cool? But what if the IDF had?
But
would you be okay with Hamas bombing them?
Wait, to do what? Like
the same thing terrorist organizations do, militias.
But that's not what the ADF does. So
it does. I mean, it does engage in militias. The only reason that the IDF is not classed as a terrorist organization, Hamas is classed as a terrorist organization, is because the state of Israel is recognized internationally.
We don't.
It's literally the only difference.
We do not.
Wait, you run to that. That's like, okay, it's genuine mind rot every time you say that. You do target civilians. Here's the thing. If I throw a bomb at someone and there's a civilian right next to them, and I know that the bomb will hit them, okay, I've targeted a civilian. Just because I have to target a civilian in order to hit a militant doesn't mean that I didn't intend to kill a civilian.
It does. If you're asking the civilian to evacuate the area, if you're attempting to get the civilians out of there.
Okay, genuine evacuate to where?
No,
where can they go in Palestine that they're safe?
I agree there's no proper place for them to go. That's absolutely.
So does it matter that they warned them?
I believe it does, because yes.
Why? Because they're going to bomb them to where they go.
That's not true.
They are. They told people to leave North Gaza, and then they bombed South Gaza. They told people to go to the Rafah crossing, and then they bombed near the Rafah crossing.
Are you aware a lot of those bombings have been perpetuated by Hamas and Islamic Jihad? Like,
cool. I'm aware. Hamas does bad thing, is a bad organization. I don't support it. I'm very aware. The IDF, right, is the question here, because you're supporting the IDF. I'm not supporting Hamas, right? I'm funding the IDF. I'm not funding Hamas. Right. So when we're talking about the actions of both my money and your support, right, we need to hold the people we're funding, the people we support, to account. Okay. So we should be hyper vigilant about what the IDF does. And when we say, oh, well, it's fine, they knock on their roof. Oh, well, it's fine, they call them up. Right. They have nowhere to go.
I said it's a very humanitarian measure, because usually during war, countries will not take a humanitarian stance. They will not warn people.
I think it's a really effective excuse. Exactly like we're saying it. So I'm just going to give it no retort. I don't care, quite honestly. Okay. If I tell you to leave your house and then I bomb your street, I don't really care that I told you to leave your house.
No, I agree. I understand where you're coming from a humanitarian standpoint, but it's not that simple. It really isn't. I'm
not saying it's simple. I've suggested a complicated solution. Israel isn't interested in a complicated solution. They're interested in a vengeful and despicable genocidal solution.
I don't agree with what you're saying. I do not believe it's genocide whatsoever. It's not an attempt to eradicate Palestinian people, civilians. It's an attempt to eradicate a terrorist organization which is terrorizing us and them.
That's their stated goal, right? But when you see mass, but it's not going to work. The thing is, and they know it's not going to work. They know what they're doing will increase terrorism in the area, right? They're not stupid. You and I can't pretend like the Israeli government's stupid. They know their actions will increase terrorism in the area. Okay? We know that.
Will they, though? With the United States,
it will inevitably.
It's likely that Hezbollah won't join, and it's just going to be Hamas, and we have more than enough power to overrun Hamas.
But what happens once you kill all the Hamas leaders? By the way, of which some Hamas leaders live in Qatar. Are we invading Qatar?
Hope that Netanyahu will step down, which is rumored to be going to happen once the war is over. And I really hope we get a prime minister who is much more of a humane person, and we can find some peace. But right now,
but how do you do that when you've destroyed an area, right? How do you make it? It's a deeply impoverished area, right?
Yes.
It's an area with common struggles, a common ethnic group. That is because of Israel.
No, what do you mean? Hamas takes all the aid. There's billions of dollars sent yearly to Gaza, and it's not given to Palestinian people. They could be.
You know what makes it a lot easier for them not to be, deeply impoverished? When you don't have a blockade blocking most economic activities.
Are you aware?
That's really hard to argue.
We were allowing more and more Gazans to come into Israel to work when this massacre occurred, and many of the perpetrators. Many of the terrorists that perpetrated these attacks on October 7th had work permits for Israel.
Yeah, but y'all are enforcing a trade embargo. So it's really hard for me to give a shit about y'all giving it. What?
I have no idea what that means, like what you just said. The trade embargo? Yeah, I'm not American or anything such.
A complete denial of basically all international trade and economic activity with internationally in the area. So they blockade the Israeli borders. They blockade the sea, and they blockade the air. So no one can go basically in and out without Israeli support. But the thing is why are they poor? Because Israel's making them poor. I think that's really, really simple. Israel also... also, I did have the... What about Hamas? Why were they poor under the PLO?
I mean, I'm saying...
What about Hamas? They were still one of the most impoverished peoples under the PLO. Was it Hamas's fault then?
No, it was
is it Hamas's fault that the West Bank are poor?
The West Bank is not particularly impoverished, and it's also a lot to do with...
It 100% is. It's still a deeply impoverished area. Is it Hamas's fault that they're deeply impoverished? Is it Hamas's fault that war crimes are committed perpetually against...
whatsoever to Gaza. The West Bank is nowhere near...
My question is, who are you going to point blame to other than Israel when Hamas isn't there, right? Under the PLO in Gaza, they were still deeply impoverished. Was it Hamas's fault then?
Was the PLO helping Palestinian civilians?
What? Wait. Was the PLO and PA helping Palestinian civilians?
Barely.
Well, the PA certainly was. What's barely?
Barely, for real.
Right, but also Hamas gained popularity right within Palestine or within Gaza through its charitable means. So much so that Israel funded that charity that later became Hamas.
Israel funded Hamas. What do you mean when you say that?
Do you not know the history of this?
That Israel funded Hamas? Absolutely not.
They funded a charity that later became Hamas, yeah.
So what? Well, if it was a charity at the time, were we not attempting to do something humanitarian for civilians? Were we attempting to?
And Hamas, its legacy is of setting up social safety nets and social networks for Gazan people. And they exist as a charity.
Another question.
As a charity, and then in the first Intifada, right? Or they were a major militant player in the first Intifada. Right, yes. But that doesn't mean that their original legacy wasn't of charity. They absolutely do exist, right? In large part to support the Gazan people. And that's why when we talk about the Gazan people, right, supporting them, how do you think they got the support of the Gazan people, right? Like there is I think it was 53% of the Gazan people view Hamas in some form of positive light. How do you think they do that if they're restricting all the aid from those people?
Can I just say something? We see this extremism happening in the vast majority of Arab countries in the world. Look at Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. All these countries hold extreme Islamist views, right? And they have very strong views against LGBTQ plus people, many other things. These people have the tendency of, some people have the tendency of leaning towards extremism because of their religion and what it proposes. So we can see this pattern elsewhere, not just here.
And what do you say of Israelis?
In what regard?
The Zionist view is a fundamentally extremist, fascistic view.
There's no statement within Zionism that there shouldn't be Jewish people within Israel, which is not even the case at the moment. 20% of the population is Arabs.
Yeah, but the idea of a Jewish theocracy, right, which is what at least some forms, and the primary form founded out of the 1880s that founded Israel, right? It's a fundamentally Jewish ethno-state. That's why you only give direct citizenship, right, to ethnically Jewish people.
Yes, and I've been personally affected by this because I'm not ethnically Jewish, as I stated before. But I've seen the reality of Israel. I've seen what the people of Israel are like, the civilians, because the government is shit, and the people here agree. Absolutely.
But the thing is, I know, but I'm saying you're going after Iran or Iraq, by the way, of whom their civilians don't support, right? The governments of Iran or Iraq don't have public support by their civilians. Most civilians of Iran actually just are comparatively quite liberal. So to talk about this tendency of violence, genuinely, if you want to hear my genuine take of it, it's racism.
But
I believe you view Arab people and typically brown-skinned people as fundamentally more violent and fundamentally more savage.
Brown people, are you not aware that many Israelis are brown?
No, I'm very aware of that. I'm very, very aware of that. Right, but this is why I talk about Arab people, is because it's a very particular type of racism.
I'm from South America. I'm from Peru, a third world.
Congrats.
Country. Definitely not white. What I'm trying to say is I'm not white to begin with, so I could not possibly have something against brown people being completely South American, being a part of the land.
You can.
How? I mean, it's very difficult to be part of a community and still discriminate against them.
I mean, I'm gay and have internalized homophobia. That's something I work through.
Well, but at least you're aware of it and you're working on it. You don't implement repressive or have repressive thoughts or I don't know if repressive is a word. How do I say this? You don't support condemning, you're in support of gay rights. You know what I mean? You have internalized homophobia because that's normal, but you understand what's wrong with that, and you don't base your morals on that, which I would say about myself as well.
Yeah, so the fact that you are of a certain group doesn't mean you can't hold the same things, especially when it's regarding people of other races. But I do believe they're talking about directly the anti-Arab sentiment, right?
But that's
the anti-Arab sentiment. Well, but you've characterized the peoples of these nations as inherently violent.
No, I'm not saying the people are inherently violent. I'm saying the governments. What I was trying to say is sometimes, and it has happened many times, and there's also a lot of countries that work amazingly under Islam. For example, Qatar or the Saudi Arabia, which we have peace with. These countries work much better and people have much more human rights than they do in Iraq or Iran or Syria or whatever. Their economies are much more developed amongst many other things. What do you mean?
Qatar as a human rights? What?
There's much more than in other Arab countries for sure. Yes.
In comparison to Iraq?
Yes.
No, it's just more institutionalized.
No? Yeah, it works better.
It works better in institutionalizing and marginalizing people. Yeah, they have stronger institutions to attack people. I mean, Qatar is an ethno-state that has multi-tiered citizenship and multi-tiered residency that basically treats people as labor, as human laborers and tools. Qatar is not a good state. The UAE you might have a better argument for, but even then they treat migrants despicably. The UAE just is a small enough nation; they have to appeal to the Western audience, right? But Qatar is not a good nation, right? And they consistently have human rights violations and being built off effective, modern day slavery. No, but also Israel has killed hundreds and hundreds of people, and denied human rights and denied the rights of return, and it's one of the largest human rights violators in that area. So it's how do we engage with this?
How can you say that? You being gay, for example, the only country you'd be safe in the Middle East is Israel. It's the only country where you
but they only do that because they have Western support, first of all, and second of all, they don't even have gay marriage. What are you talking about?
No, but that's not because of discrimination towards gay people. They don't have
100%
anything. it's based on Judaism. Like, you can only get married if you're Jewish. And I understand that's fucked up. I agree, because I cannot get married here to my boyfriend, even though I converted, you know? Like, I'm personally affected by a lot of
Yeah, so they're not, like, the thing is they just happen to be in a geopolitical situation where they're forced to have certain domestic policies, right, that are more protective of gay people and more protective of women. That's fine. That doesn't make their foreign policy any better, and it makes them still an ethno-state that just happens to be funded by the West. Right,
but if
like, I don't like ethnostates, and like it's just not difficult. Ethnostates, bad, right? Like, because ethnostates lead to ethnic cleansing, because that's the only way you maintain an ethnostate. So when you say
ethnic cleansing,
there has been the denial of the Nakba refugees.
But that's the Palestinian population has increased over the years tremendously.
Wait, no, y'all all have the Zionists have the. You have to have like a shared PDF or something.
And you're telling me like I'm racist, and you just said you just encapsulated.
That's why I clarified they're Zionists.
Well, bro, I think
that's why I specifically. That's so No, I'm not. That's so disingenuous. I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with you.
Me too.
I said y'all, and then I clarified to Zionists. Did you hear me when I say clarified to Zionists?
But what do you think is the difference?
So 1 second. I'm not. Did you hear me when I said I clarified to Zionists?
Yeah.
So when you said, "Oh, you accuse me of not being racist," right, and then you say "y'all," right, you're just a liar. Yes.
How am I a liar? It's what you just said now.
I said Zionists. Y'all, Zionism is not a race.
Are you aware that the vast majority of Jews in the world are Zionists? Are you aware of that?
The vast majority of evangelical Christians are as well. And what?
And attacking Zionism as if it was a separate entity than Judaism is disingenuous, because it's not true.
The
majority of Jews are Zionists.
Conflating Judaism and Zionism is anti-Semitic.
How is it, bro? I'm Jewish in Tel Aviv.
Very cool, and it's despicable to conflate the two.
What do you mean? It isn't. I know Jewish people.
You can know Jewish people. I know anti-Zionist Jewish people, and what?
And what do you mean, and what? I move fully on within Jewish communities, and people, everyone I know, every single person, every single Jewish person.
Cool, and it's disgusting to conflate a political ideology with a religion.
It's not a political ideology.
It is. Wait, the Zionism is a fundamentally political ideology founded off of a theological view. It is the view that it's a political ideology that supports, right, the foundation of a political state within a certain area on the basis of an ethnic, historical, and religious claim. Those ethnic, historical, and religious claims are Jewish. I'm not contending them. I'm contending that we shouldn't consider them in politics, right? And that's what Zionism is.
Zionism is the belief that we have the right to exist in the Middle East as Jewish people.
No, it is the support of a foundation of a Jewish state within the Middle East.
And what's the problem with that, again?
So wait, but this is so slippery, right? Like, I've said something, you then just ask a question around it. Do you disagree with me describing Zionism as that?
That it's the belief that there should be a Jewish state within this area?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
Cool. Great. Do you believe that Jews can still be Jewish and not believe that?
Of course, yes, but it's very uncommon for Jewish people.
I know lots and lots of them, but that's besides the point. Do you believe that you can be non-Jewish and believe that?
Yes.
So if you can believe something and be non-Jewish, and you can be Jewish and not believe something, does that mean that Zionism and Judaism are? It is. Do you think that is appropriate to conflate the two?
I think it is, yes, because it's representative of the vast majority of Jewish people. Zionism.
Is it Is it representative of the vast majority of Zionists, though?
No, it's. What do you mean? Probably yes. I believe the vast majority of Zionists are Jewish.
No, it's not. Okay, yeah, you'd be wrong. At least within America and Europe, right? The vast majority of Zionists are not Jewish.
Are you telling me that the majority of Zionists are not Jewish? Because that's untrue.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100%
true. Right.
Show me, please.
Sorry. I don't know if there's any direct judgment of this, but we can kind of we can think through the math of this. Okay, most of these questions are about what percent of Jews are Zionists. Okay, but travel attachment to Israel.
I think it's very obvious that the majority of people that support. Okay.
What percent of evangelical Christian? Some really quick math can do this. Okay, so more than half of Americans have favorable views of Israel, right? Let's take that number for a second. Okay, the population of America is 330 million, right?
Okay.
So that means that 115 million people, roughly, within America have favorable views of Israel. So what percent of America is Jewish?
But can I say something?
And that means that, so roughly 2% would be about, 6 mil, right? So there are about 6 million Jewish people within America.
Can I say something?
Or 7 million Jewish people within America. So 7 million Jews in America are within America. There are 16 million Jews within Israel, if I remember correctly, or 16 million Jews across the world, right? Is that the population of Jewish population currently? Okay. Yeah, 7 mil. Total population of the world is 7 mil. About 100. It just went out. So let's see. Okay, so the core Jewish population is 16 million. There are just 115 million pro-Israel people within America. So yes, I believe that most pro-Israel people who would properly consider themselves Zionists are not Jewish.
Are you pro-Israel with Zionism? Because I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's actual care.
Same, but I mean, the numbers are difficult otherwise to get.
Yeah, because it's obviously, I think it's very simple. The vast majority of people that want a Jewish state are Jewish, obviously.
Well, you can say obviously, but the fact is, right, that it is the pervasive view within America politically, right, to support the Jewish state. That's the pervasive view. Most people support the existence of Zionism within America. Within Europe, it is the pervasive support. That's why the West has supported it, right? So when we talk about those what's the European population? About 746 million, right? If there are only 16 million Jewish people in the world, right, and it is the pervasive view through both America and Europe, right, some of the large population centers in the world, right, there are going to just be more non-Jews that support the political ideology than there are Jews.
I don't think most Jews are very aware of anything regarding Israeli politics. I really don't.
But most of them. I mean, I just said, like Pew said, that they supported, at least had a positive view of Israel.
If it's a poll asking people, do you support Israel? And they say yes, that's not at all equatable to Zionism, like at all.
I mean, if you support the maintenance of the Israeli state, right, you are Zionist in some definition.
Can I ask, do you oppose the idea of a two-state solution?
Not currently, no. But you're switching up. So I think this is interesting because I really want to talk about this because I really, really hate this type of discussion.
Okay.
Conflating the two is wrong. The Anti-Defamation League has called it hate speech to conflate the two. Right. So here's really genuinely talking to an Israeli. So, plenty of Jews believe it. But plenty of Jews believe that they shouldn't conflate the two. Even if they support Zionism, it's a specific type of Judaism. So the Anti-Defamation League has said that conflating Zionism and Judaism, right, is hate speech in some form. Yet the Israeli government consistently engages in it. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to speak of them as two separate things? Is that acceptable? Right? Or
it is acceptable
should I speak of them
contexts,
as one?
Yes, but they are not. They're not particularly different. I can tell you, I don't understand how, like, I'm telling you, I live in Israel. Everyone around me is mostly Jewish. And I've never in my life met a Jewish person, despite moving in only Jewish circles, that is not a Zionist and that doesn't believe that being an anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic. I've never met a Jew that doesn't believe that in my life.
Can you explain to me how not supporting Is not supporting a Christian ethno-state anti-Christian?
I think it's very dependent on the situation, and we know how severe hate crimes are worldwide targeting Jews, despite being such a small population. And I feel like sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, and the Holocaust happened. We're seeing now that in Turkey, they're starting to ban Jews from shops.
Yeah. Great. So I agree that anti-Semitism is widespread and pervasive, and I despise that. Do you support Black nationalism in America?
I would not know exactly what that means. Like blacks.
Okay, Black nationalism, the foundation of a Black
I'm
state?
assuming it means like Black people wanting like their own area, perhaps.
Their own state.
I don't know. I would need to know more of that.
You don't know.
Well, I would need to know more of the basis of that, but I think there might be other solutions. I would have to know how severe hate crimes are towards Black people to give you my input.
How severe?
Like how constant?
We see a higher instance of hate crimes in America against Black people than we do Jewish people. So.
But there's many more Black people than there's Jews, so I think it's very concerning.
No, as a proportion of population.
There's a proportionate population of Jews and Black people in America? What did you say? I didn't understand.
As a proportion of population, there are fewer hate crimes against Jewish people than there are against Black people. Per capita.
Okay.
So do you believe that the current information, right, regarding Black people in America justifies them founding a state? And if so, where?
I think it's much more complex than that, because Black people can be from many different countries and have many different backgrounds.
Can Jews. You can convert to Judaism.
Okay, yes, which I did. I cannot believe.
So your argument applies to Jewish people even more so, right? Like technically, I'm ethnically Jewish
but
enough
you cannot
that if it was in a different proportion, if it was from a different side, right, I would be considered Jewish. It's not actually about actual ethnicity; it's about a mythos of ethnicity. So it's not about where they're from; it's about the mythos of their religion. So let me ask you once again: violence against the Roma people within Europe is higher than that against Jewish people. Do you believe the Roma people? The Roma people should have their own state, and if so, where?
I don't know where. I would need to know the geopolitics of the area, where they're ethnic to. I would need to know that. I would need to know that necessarily, but I believe it's very different.
Okay, so if I wanted to found a Roma state in Palestine, for example, would you support it?
Depending on your foundation, like
with your current information, would you support it or be against it?
I don't have enough information about that population to tell you.
Fascinating. Because I think this is really, really important, right? Is when we go into all of these things, you're not really willing to answer, right?
What do you mean? I'm being genuine.
You don't care. I know, and it's fair enough, right? But you don't care enough about the hate crimes against these people or the violence against these people to justify an ethno state. Whereas you're willing, you watch the violence against these people. You're not
suggesting ethnic groups, like just the last group you suggested.
Those are ethnic groups.
Black people? As a whole?
In America, we consider African Americans in some form to be an ethnic group.
But not all of them are African Americans. There's other Black people that are not African American necessarily. That's what I was saying.
And the Roma people are also an ethnic group?
No, that's an ethnic group. I just don't know enough information about them.
So here's the thing though, is there's obviously a different discussion as to whether I have a prejudice or bias or hate for a certain group, and whether that certain group deserves a ethno-state. Do you recognize that those are two different questions?
Yes.
So this is anti-Semitism. This is anti-Zionism. If you recognize that they're different questions, and you recognize that they're different, like, analyses.
But listen,
can you recognize how I can agree, how I can say, hey, I disagree with it. This is disgusting. I don't think that you should have an unjustified bias against these people. I don't think you should have a hate for these people. I actually have a deeper respect for the Jewish population and the Jewish heritage.
Mm-hmm.
But then this different question, should they have an ethno-state where they're able to exclude Arabs, where they're able to genocide Arabs, right? Should they be able to do this? No, I don't think they should.
Arabs are not,
right?
That's the thing. Questions. Why are you suggesting Arabs are excluded when 20%
because they deny the Nakba refugees on the basis of them being a demographic threat. Right, so right out of the word of the leader.
To you, like, why is Egypt
not letting? Wait. So the Nakba, the refugees are attempting to go back to where they're from, right, which is Palestine. And then they are being denied because they're a demographic threat. Only genocidal ethnic states have demographic threats. So the point here is
why does
I'm not gonna let you slip out of this though.
Slip out of what?
They're two different. I know. So that's just, these are two different questions, right? Can you explain to me why it's anti-Semitic for me to answer this question differently than I answer this question? Because from my view, this is anti-Semitism. This is anti-Zionism. Right, and I'm not anti-Christian or anti-Black or anti-Roma or anti-any Protestant, like anything, right? For saying no, I don't support a hate for these people, but I don't think they should have an ethno-state. And this is the position of the Anti-Defamation League as well.
But
right?
What
This
I
position
said
of most national, this position of Amnesty International as well, right? So like most non-Israeli organizations have this position because it's just pretty much common sense. So what's anti-Semitic about it?
I'm saying that in the basis that the majority of Jews would agree with me. The majority of Jews are Zionists. The majority of Jews believe Israel has a right to exist. The vast majority of Jews.
I don't disagree that Israel has a right to exist. I don't think Israel has a right to ethno-state, but also that's an argument from authority and argument from false authority.
What, saying that most people would agree?
Jews aren't all people?
Well, when you grow up in a Jewish community, Jewish communities are very tight-knit and people know each other mostly. There's not a lot of Jewish people, so you mostly know, for example, if you're from South America, there's programs you do after school where you come to Israel for a year and you meet all the Jews from other countries, like Costa Rica, all the other Latin Jews, for example. So I know a lot of Jews, and most Jews do. And
no, I know, but most Jews aren't like most Jews are not all most people. Like
no, but
the idea that most Jews agree with you.
Wait,
the idea that most Jews agree with you doesn't mean that most people agree with you.
But
and
who
even if
should
most
determine
people,
whether something is anti-Semitic other than Jews?
The definition of it.
What do you mean the definition of it? If Jews are telling you something is offensive or something is like racist towards their population, they have every right to voice that.
Yeah, but what if I just agree with the other Jews that don't? The anti-Zionist Jews, right? Of which there's a massive movement in America. Who should I believe?
Compared to the Zionist movement, it's definitely very small. The anti-Zionist Jews.
But who should I believe? Right? Like,
It's not about believing. I think it's about doing your own research and knowing what Israel entails.
And I've done my own research, and I know, right, what international anti-hate groups say. And they say that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. And I should believe the people that look into hate crimes, look into hate speech, look into discussions of hate, right, and prejudice across all metrics, and see what they say about it, right?
But what if you, as a gay person, told me whatever, like any, I don't know, a slur is offensive to you, and I told you, well, no, because other people would say it's not. I have to listen to you and your experience.
I wouldn't say that's interesting, and I would try and educate you and try and discuss as to what it was. There's genuine disagreement, right? But my thing, here's where I get into this, is Israel is interested in making this narrative true. Okay? Israel is interested in scaring everyone into being pro-Zionist, into being Zionist, right?
No one's scared. Like, no.
I'm scared, bro. I'm scared.
Scared of what? Of not being a Zionist?
No. Of having my name put on a billboard outside my school.
That's not going to happen unless you scream Intifada or anything like that.
No, it will. People that
no. That's not going to happen. It's only happened to people that have
but the thing is it has. The thing is it has.
To who?
It has within America. Right?
To who?
In the pro-Palestinian liberation movements, from the Canary Project, right? They're putting people's names that support the BDS movement, so boycott, defund, sanctions movement. You have to support. No, you don't have to support Hamas. You just have to support BDS. They explicitly say it's just BDS. They'll list out the organizations and statements that have been made, and the statements that they find offensive, right, are supports of BDS, and that's defund, boycott, defund, and sanctions against Israel. That's it.
Well, but that's That's not acceptable, I wouldn't say.
No, I know it doesn't, but let's live in reality. I don't want you to have false outrage. Like, I'm scared, right? I live in a world where materially, right, my support, right, for Palestinian liberation, my lack of support. One second.
Okay.
Because I don't trust you, right now, because you've had outrage about things and been drastically wrong, and you're drastically wrong, and you keep like kind of moving away from point. So it's really important we kind of stay on point here for a second, because people are scared, right? People are scared because Israel's trying to scare them. That's why they have the Canary Project. There's no other reason for them to have the Canary Project regarding BDS. I'm afraid I'll get blacklisted from jobs. I'm afraid I'll get blacklisted from entering certain countries, right? I'm afraid I'll get blacklisted from politics, right? I'll be attacked socially, I'll be attacked politically, I'll be attacked economically, right? They set up systems for this. So no, let's talk about this. And Israel consistently does this. They say that all people that don't support Israel, don't support funding Israel, don't support the maintenance of Israel, right? They are calling them anti-Semitic. And that is scary, right? When you live in a world where I'm not anti-Semitic. I have deep and long-lasting support for the Jewish community, right? But I could be attacked socially. The mechanisms of social and economic repercussions could come after me. So it's really, really, really important we get this right. And it's deeply important to me, like with taking care of my Jewish family members, that we don't water down what anti-Semitism is and what anti-Semitism looks like. Okay? Because when we start watering down what anti-Semitism is, right, it becomes much more difficult to call it out properly. That's very important to me, right? If someone was watering down what homophobia looked like, right, I would find them just as despicable as a homophobic person, because it will cause harm, right, to my community. And so when you are causing harm to my family members, right, who are Jewish and have to engage in this, or ethnically Jewish, right, it's really important we get this right. So you need to explain to me, right, if I'm going to trust you, why me not supporting a genocidal state, me not supporting the state of Israel as it is. I've defined it again. I'm not going to have this debate again. You can just ignore it if you want. Why me not supporting the maintenance of Israel, right, which was originally a Western colony and has been propped up as a Western colony? Why is that anti-Semitic?
Because it's the one country where Jews get to be free and safe in the entire world after constant persecution historically. That's why.
Wonderful. Great. So you believe that is what's necessary. And okay, and what I say, right, is it was not founded for the safety of Jews.
But how do you know that? Who have you spoken to?
Because I've read what the founders, or what the main proponents of Zionists, right, within the 1880s, where we got mass amounts of Jewish immigration into the area, they were not doing it for safety.
How so? The Holocaust had just occurred. Like how could it be
in anything the 1880s?
Other? The Holocaust finished 40 years before that?
1880s?
Oh, I'm sorry. I fully misheard you. 1980s.
Yeah, so the 1880s, when Zionism was picking up in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? They were talking about why we were having Zionist militias and labor unions and mass amounts of Jewish immigration in that area.
Okay, but the
primary motivation for Zionism was not safety of Jews. I would support a movement that was primarily aimed at safety of Jews.
But how is it not?
From my view, because they are doing it for theological extremist reasons. In my view, the Zionist movement has made Jews in the world less safe. We can talk about why that's true, but I believe at the very least, their actions have not optimized safety for Jews. But at the worst, it's increased danger to Jews.
I don't agree with you, at all. I feel like growing up and being friends, before I converted, I knew my Jewish friends did not feel particularly safe being Jewish in Peru. And my friends definitely feel safe here. And they deserve to feel safe. Yeah,
feel safe here. But there are Jews not in Israel.
Yeah, and those Jews...
But the thing is when Israel has conflated its existence and its actions, right, with the Jewish people as a whole. They consistently do. Netanyahu has verbatim said the actions of Israel are the actions of the Jewish people.
Well, but that's not true. I fully disagree with that.
Yeah, but it's been part of their problem. You can disagree with it, cool, but it's been the actions of the Zionist movement, and I'm talking about the actions of the Zionist movement, and consistently, right? Consistently, they have conflated their actions, themselves, and the Jewish people, and when they do that, Jewish people pay the cost of it, which is despicable. But it's increasing hate against Jewish people.
But
you have to recognize that when Israel commits a war crime, Jewish people pay the cost.
No, I agree. I agree with that. But I don't believe Israel is deliberately committing war crimes. That's what I don't believe.
Well, there's no other way to commit a war crime, so.
What war crimes are we committing, though?
Use of white phosphorus, bombing of residential areas, the denial of humanitarian aid, the denial of UN workers and Red Crescent and Red Cross workers, the bombing of Red Crescent and Red Cross workers, the bombing of UN peacekeepers within the area, the total and utter blockade, the denial of Nakba,
Are you aware that most of the
refugees.
Information that comes out of Gaza is, according to Hamas,
I don't think the denying of the Nakba refugees, which is in violation of international law, is coming from Hamas. I don't think the idea that they were occupying illegally Gaza. I don't think the idea that they were illegally occupying Gaza and the West Strip is coming from Hamas. Right? That's been condemned by the international community since 1967.
And why did we pull out of Gaza? Why did Israel pull out of Gaza? With one intention.
Do you want to hear my real answer to why I think they pulled out of Gaza?
Of course, I want to hear your real answer.
Because they wanted to destabilize the region.
What could possibly make you believe that? What good does it do to Israel to give up land where they had Jews living and just like relocating them?
Because once they have an extremist on their home step, right? Once they have an extremist group on their home step that is attacking them, right? They have excuse to further genocide those people.
But don't you think that's very much an agenda for you to believe that? It's very like...
No, I believe it's a very much an agenda that they have pretty much admitted to, right? So.
When has Israel ever admitted to giving Gaza to Palestinians just to weaken the region? I don't think that's ever happened.
Not verbatim, right? But I did bring up this source talking about what Netanyahu does, but it referenced a military commander or a political advisor that worked with Netanyahu and was talking about how Netanyahu's support politically was towards Hamas and against Fatah. And he engaged in that to destabilize the region. The former brigade general within the Gaza area said, yeah, we supported Hamas because we wanted to have a counterweight to the PLO. So that's the former brigade general of Gaza at the time, from the 1970s to the 1980s, if I remember correctly. You can check that if you'd like. He said verbatim, Hamas is unfortunately Israel's creation. And then he went on further to talk about how Hamas was created precisely, or was funded precisely they said that Hamas was funded precisely to provide a Islamic jihadist counter movement to the PLO. So yeah, I do believe it's been part of their foreign policy for a very long time to destabilize the region, and I believe they pulled out of the region unilaterally and then later enforced a blockade against them to destabilize the region to excuse their actions further of massacring Arabs.
Why did we enforce the blockade, though? Like, what was the reason for that?
Why did you say you enforced the blockade, or why did you enforce the blockade?
Because of many suicide bombings and many other things. There were way too many murders.
You really could have easily avoided, right? Not just cutting off mass amounts of trade and a full, no one is suicide bombing the ocean.
I just
and that you still set out a full trade embargo on their air. Why'd you bomb their airport?
But no one's saying...
No one was suicide bombing their airport. Why'd you bomb their seaport? No one is suicide bombing their seaport, right? Like, you did this to destabilize and weaken the people, right?
But when you say
you realize that
as if it was me.
No, but you're speaking as if it's you.
When?
You said, why did we?
Well, yeah, as Israel, as an Israeli citizen, but it's not me. It's not my choice.
But I know, but I'm going to engage in the verbiage you engage in.
Okay. It's okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, it is. It's fine.
Okay. Because, this is the thing, is, as I've said, this kind of relates back to what we were talking before. You talk as if you're all of Israel, but then I try and separate civilians from governments. I try and avoid hate speech, right? is I don't think that talking about the civilians, right, is the same thing as talking about the governments. That's what I don't like when you all do it with the Palestinians and the Palestinian governments. I further don't think that we should talk about Jews as if they're all Zionists, right? Because that breeds hate speech. And yet Israel turns around and does the exact same thing.
I don't think it should.
That's where I'm difficult. I think this is why I don't think the Israeli state is helping Jewish people, is because their goal is to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And part of defending themselves means using the Jewish religion, the Jewish tradition, right, as a shield. They say if you attack us, you're attacking the Jewish tradition. But necessarily when you use something as a shield, that something's going to get hurt. And I think it's putting my Jewish friends and family and, my human family in the world at risk. But and they need to stop using them as a shield, because that's the only reason that you would conflate Judaism and Zionism, is if you want to protect Zionism behind Judaism.
No, but Zionism does not represent the Israeli government at all. It's just the belief. I can be a Zionist opposing to the current government without any problems. It's not necessarily tied together.
No, I know. It's just different. Wait, there are many different types of Zionism. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so
Zionism is one belief of many, right? But Zionism, insofar as it establishes a theocratic ethno-state, right, in the Palestinian area, right, is a despicable view, and it is not necessary of Judaism, right? And actually, I'm seeing in the comments as well, there are plenty of anti-Zionist Jews like currently watching this live, right? So here's the difficult part, is Israel is really interested in using Jews as a shield, right, to protect them. And I think that's despicable, and I think it causes harm to Jews. And they also use their civilians as shields to protect against them. Whenever a Israeli citizen dies, they kill 20. 30. I think someone recently did the math, and the retribution is 1 to 40.
But can I just say, the numbers coming from Gaza are according to Hamas. Why are we blind?
Wait, so I'm going off the UN. I'm going off the numbers that are being reported by the UN.
Okay. But are you aware of how anti-Semitic the UN has been lately? They agreed. They've been
anti-Israel. What if they said verbatim that's anti-Semitic?
To condemn Hamas's attack on October 7th, which is wild.
They did. Wait, who? When?
I'm not sure, but someone important in the UN.
They didn't refuse to condemn it.
I swear to God.
The UN General Secretary came out and directly condemned the October 7th attack.
There was someone.
That's entirely untrue.
Can you Google it? I'm sure. I'm not exactly who, but I remember someone important from the UN refused to condemn Hamas's attacks on Israel.
Yeah, so the UN General Assembly calls for humanitarian troop in Gaza while condemning the October 7th attack. Yeah, the 193 member world adopted the resolution with a vote of 20 to 14 with 45 absentees. It would have unequivocally condemned the October 7th terrorist attack by Hamas and demanded the immediate release of hostages taken by Gaza. I'm really intrigued. So,
would you mind if I look it up?
This is fast. Sorry, I just want to add a little bit to this story.
Okay.
So, yeah, there was a rejected resolution.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You know who rejected that resolution?
No.
The 14 countries that voted against the resolution include Israel and its closest ally, the United States.
Against what resolution? Condemning Hamas?
Against the resolution that would condemn Hamas and call for a humanitarian truce in Gaza.
Okay,
so,
but that's...
what's happened now is Israeli propaganda has turned around and condemned the UN for being anti-Semitic, for not condemning Hamas, when they're the ones who voted against the resolution that would condemn Hamas.
Can I look this up myself? Would you mind if I do it now?
Yeah, you can take a second. Just be back quickly. It's a bit boring without op.
No. I'm gonna be here. I'm looking it up on my computer. Okay, so let's see. Do
you see how deeply frustrating this is for me? Because
I understand, but I feel
the Israeli propaganda machine is super powerful, And this type of bullshit, like, is what we deal with every single day. And it's like genuinely like heartbreaking that like they're willing to lie and misrepresent like this for a small amount of political gain.
Okay, give me a second. I'm looking this up right now, but I also wanted to say, like, what do you think about, like, if the Iron Dome was not in Israel, if we didn't have it, I would be dead right now, and Israel would be looking worse than Gaza because they fired an enormous amount of rockets towards Israel. And just because we have a defense system doesn't make it any less genocidal of them.
Yeah, I don't doubt that Hamas is genocidal. Wait. How can Hamas be genocidal? The population of Jewish people within the area they're targeting has increased within the past 10 years.
They don't have control over the area whatsoever. That's why. But if they could, they would definitely kill. As I said, we have the Iron Dome defense system, which doesn't allow rockets to actually hit buildings in most cases.
It's almost like not everyone being dead means that it's still maybe genocidal. Crazy. Who would have thought? Like, you see how, like, I just made that point because, like, come on. Like,
no,
we know that being genocidal doesn't mean that you're necessarily successful.
What I'm trying to say is whatever we're doing to them is much different and much better than what is being done to us. We're avoiding civilian casualties as a whole. We're trying to target Hamas.
Pretty horridly.
Well, it's not war. It's not nice. It's not.
But you've killed more civilians, so.
But like, also,
by what metric? By what metric is what you're doing better? Like, according to
I can tell you, we're not raping and slaughtering and destroying people.
The claims of any rape have not been corroborated by the international press.
That's like really fucked up that you would say that. I know people that have been raped. Like, it's insane.
I mean, get me the international corroboration, right, of it happening.
I just gasped. And then, like, I cannot believe. I think it's insane.
The thing is I'm looking for facts. If you can bring me the facts, that's fine, right? All I said is that I hadn't seen the international corroboration. So if you want to bring me the facts, that's fine. But
give me a second.
Because it's not offensive for me to want facts. If it's offensive for me to want facts, then we can't have this conversation.
No. I'm not saying it's offensive for you to want facts.
Then don't be offended. So just bring me the facts.
Okay, but you don't have to suggest it didn't happen. Of course I'm going to be offended if you tell me it didn't happen.
I didn't suggest it didn't happen. I said that there was no international corroboration that happened.
Oh my god, okay, give me a second. Hamas. Israel. Okay, give me a second. There's a million sources here, but I'm pretty sure you don't believe any Israeli source, right?
No, I don't. Not anyone that has any sponsorship with the Israeli government or the Israeli funding. Israeli sources necessarily aren't bad, but like just the Israeli government, I don't.
Okay, give me a moment. I'm trying to find something that's not Israeli, but I feel like that's very biased of you as well. Not believing any sources. How is it not?
I want international corroboration, not Israeli funded corroboration. So if it's Israeli funded in any way, that's fine. That's unacceptable.
Give me a second. I'm trying to find something that is not Israeli. Well, the vast majority of results are obviously Israeli because it's like the news have been covered more here. But let me see. Israeli officials. This is NBC. Give me a second. I'm gonna look at the article. But can I just say something that is evidence to me, something I've witnessed? I don't know if you've seen.
I love actual evidence, yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's videos, many videos, when the massacre occurred where they've paraded naked bodies of girls in Gaza, for example.
Yeah, okay. So the claims of, I can bring you factcheck.org, right?
No,
it's by the Annenberg Policy Center. Claims of suspected rapes. The video saying the allegations. The video says that the allegations for Hamas militants are false. So there is limited evidence of specific cases.
No. Let me tell you something. Can I?
The Los Angeles Times removed reference.
Many of the terrorists that were captured and interrogated after have recognized to raping women and children alike.
Where is this from?
This is Israeli news. Like, you see the Hamas terrorists. Bro, if you're going to disregard
can you give me a source? Yeah, I will disregard Israeli. I know, I will disregard Israeli news. Yeah. Can you give me any international corroboration? Look, the thing is can you give me any? I asked for international corroboration. I would like international corroboration. So
I'm trying to, but I just feel like I don't want to delay it too much. I was just trying to keep the conversation going, as you said.
Yeah, no, the Israeli news though is like at least in part funded by the Israeli government. So like I don't trust it.
Do you not believe that these animals would rape Hamas? They are animals.
I mean, if we want to engage in emotive rhetoric, like we can engage in emotive rhetoric. You're going to lose in emotive rhetoric.
How?
But I mean, because y'all killed 7,000, 3,000 of which are children. Who are the animals?
The numbers.
I don't think it's productive. I don't think it's productive for us to have a big dick contest of human rights violations, quite honestly. Right? Because genuinely, Israel will lose. You've committed more human rights violations by and large. At the very least because Hamas. It is true. It is true. You've killed more children. Wow, look at that. You can't. Who would have thought? No, the Israeli government recognizes that it's killed more children. Like, it's insane. Give me an actual source that that supports it. I'm not stating a position on it happening, right? I would like an international support of it. Because the thing is you have brought no facts.
What do you mean?
Have brought actual sources. I don't care that you live there. That makes you less, like, genuinely, the fact that you are in the Israeli media sphere, right, of which the Israeli state, right, which is extraordinarily far right-wing, extraordinarily well-funded, and has an extraordinarily powerful media wing, it makes you less trustworthy because of the sources that you're getting influence from. So I just like a source.
Okay, the fact that you fully disregard the news from the country where this is happening is a massive issue.
But you fully disregard all information coming from Palestine as well. So.
No. If it comes from the PA, I believe it. If it comes from Hamas, no. And from Gaza, we only get.
So how much is coming from PA?
Hamas.
Exactly. So can you give me an international source?
I can continue looking, bro. I stopped looking, actually. I didn't think it was that important, honestly, to the conversation. But I can look it up. You're asking for evidence of rape? That's what's happening right now?
I just want a corroborated claim.
Do you not think it's insane that people tell you
I genuinely don't want your, like, virtue signaling. I genuinely want an answer. I'm searching for it too. The thing is I can't find it.
And how do you explain videos of women being paraded naked while they're spitted on?
Guess what isn't that? So can you give me a corroborated evidence of it?
Yes, there's plenty, but
do. We'll put the conversation on pause while you do.
Okay.
Go find one. And while we do, we hit 2,000 people here. This is my goal, to get eyes and ears on the issue, so I appreciate everyone sending guest requests disagreeing. I appreciate everyone sending gifts because that boosts the live quite often. Do follow me if you appreciate this, and I'm going to be going live quite a bit more. Please go follow my YouTube. I'm going to try and upload this on YouTube if anyone wants to follow, if anyone wants to watch it again. So thank you so much to everyone. Absolutely fantastic live. I really, really appreciate everyone. And yeah, let's see if she can get this up. So thank you for everyone sharing the live as well. I don't know if her phone has died. I don't know what's happened. Is she still here? Oh, there he is. Have you found one?
I found a source just now from NBC.
Great. NBC. What's the title of the head? What's the title of the news source? We'll take NBC. It's international, baby. Baby wasn't directed at you, though. Baby was directed at the comments. While we take a second, I'm going to go and pee. So, peace out. I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Oh, hello. Okay, we're back.
Okay, bye.
There we are. Okay.
Okay, so as I did send you a source.
What's the name of the... Yeah. Where? Like on my messages.
Okay, wait.
How'd you send me a message? What's the name of the...
Hold on. If I close the TikTok, it's gonna like mute me, right? Okay, give me...
If you...
I wanna...
Yeah, what's up?
Chat, if you want.
What? Just give me the title.
I just sent the link on the chat. If you can find it.
I cannot see it. Can you just give me the title?
Yeah, give me a second. Videos of Hamas in jihadist tactics. And this is NBC.
Videos of Hamas what?
Attacks.
Okay. And is that the whole thing?
Best to chill.
So when you go out of the app, I can't hear you. And you cut off.
It says videos of mass attacks. Okay. Suggest chilling evolution of Islamic jihadist tactics, I think. Because I don't have it open. Something like that.
Wonderful. Okay. Hamas appears. Okay. Israel officials said they showed the compilation to Joe Biden. They said it showed it to a... Okay. Consists of recorded by the attackers themselves. Hamas appears to have combined the texts of Hezbollah, the Islamic State, and Taliban by mounting a large-scale attack. Estimated 2,000 fighters, rocket silos, mass hostages, rape, beheadings, live streaming.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's despicable.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I feel like you don't see how, and I'm trying to say this as respectfully as possible. I think you're very smart. I've enjoyed talking to you, actually. I just want to say, I feel like you're also very biased and you're like not aware, because there's many things you've said are not true, and that's like not the case. And I just feel like you should be a little bit more willing to listen to Israelis and people who are telling you what happens here. That's
what did I say that wasn't true?
Well, you told me, no, the raping there's no proof. And like, I know people.
No, I said there was no international corroboration.
But there is, you know?
This is American, but it's fair enough. I mean, it's good enough to address it. Reuters pulled back their claim, I know. The Atlantic Times pulled back their claim. The UN pulled back their recognition of the claim. So, I mean,
but
NBC News maintaining the claim is fine. And they didn't even... This isn't even corroboration, right? This is just saying what the Israelis showed to NBC, right? So no, that's not. It's not strictly untrue, right? It just says that it was reported by NBC what Israel said.
I know people that went through that massacre.
Yeah, fine. What did I say that wasn't true?
I'm just saying, I feel like there's many things I've stated, and you've suggested that it's been debunked or stuff like that. The beheaded babies, what? For example. The beheaded
babies has been walked back by the White House. I'll take the American position on that.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, according to the Israelis.
No, according to Joe Biden as well.
Joe Biden walked back his claim.
He said there were no decapitated babies because I've seen videos myself.
No, he walked back the claim. He said, "Oh no, actually, it wasn't terribly clear if that happened." Well, yeah, he walked back his claim. So,
there's been pictures released, and as I said before, I know people that were murdered. I know people that went through the attack and survived. Many people, actually, as most Israelis do, and they have told us.
So you can know people. Once again, you accuse me of saying something is false. I listen to Israelis. That's what I'm doing right now, right? That's what I do pretty much always, right? You know, I there's no one else to talk to about this. The thing is why would I be biased? Where's my bias coming from? Because I can point to where your bias would come from. Where would my bias come from?
Merely saying that any source coming from Israel is false is a bias in itself.
That's not what I said.
But you're saying you don't trust any Israeli source, and I cannot provide you.
No, I said I don't. I said in the context of asking for international corroboration, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about the Israeli sources because they're not international. You see how that works?
I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with not believing the news coming from a country that is at war.
But I didn't say I didn't believe it.
Well, you say Israeli propaganda and everything.
What I said was, I don't care what the Israelis say when I'm talking about international corroboration. So I said there's been no international corroboration, right?
Why is international corroboration required to justify a massacre happening to Jews in Israel? What do we need?
I'm not attempting to justify a massacre. What absurd, incendiary language! I'm
just saying, there was a massacre.
This is you lying. I never attempted to justify a massacre.
I never said
such incendiary language.
I didn't say you justified it.
You said, why is international coverage necessary to justify a massacre happening to Jews in Israel?
Saying not justify. What I meant to say, because English is not my first language again, what I meant to say was, why is it necessary for you to see proof that it's international to believe Israel went through that massacre? That was what I was attempting to say.
With that specific claim, is because it's been walked back by a series of relevant individuals, right? It was walked back by Reuters, it was walked back by Al Jazeera, it was walked back by the UN, it was walked back by
Al Jazeera is not a reliable source, and it's known to be very biased.
No, I know, but I answered your question, that's why.
Okay.
But the thing is where is my bias coming from? Why do you think I'm biased?
Because I feel like you're perceiving Palestinians as victims much more than you are empathizing with Israelis. And I also feel like you're opposed to an ethno-state when it comes to Israel being so strong whilst not condemning other ethno-states at the same time.
I condemn all ethno-states.
Okay, but right now we're focusing on Israel, right? We're focusing solely on Israel.
Because they're the one committing the massacre right now.
No, there's massacres going on in Afghanistan and many other countries right now within their population.
I think the thing is, it's self-evident that I don't support the Taliban, right?
Well,
duh. The thing is in America, there's a few things here. First of all, okay, let's talk about specifically why I'm talking about Israel.
Okay.
My money's going to it. Most of the people around me support it. My politicians are actively supporting it. Don't you think it would be a really, really different discussion if the Taliban was committing the crimes they are and we were funding them in doing it?
Yeah, but Israel is not.
Don't you think it would be? But no. But the thing is don't you think it would be a really different discussion if the Taliban was engaging in ethnic cleansing, which it is, and our politicians were saying, "I stand unilaterally behind the Taliban."
They also
that's so obvious. But the thing is, it's so obviously disingenuous, right? To tell me, why are you focusing so much on Israel when all the other ones we're not funding and it's really obvious we don't support? So
it's very
what's
different.
The actual issue here, though? No, I know it's very different. I agree it's very different. That's why my response to it is very different. You're the one that attempted to make an equivocation between the two.
What I'm saying is Israel is not an oppressive state as you suggest.
You disagree with me. That's fine. You disagree with me. Okay.
Because I live here.
My point is you brought up a specific issue. Why are you only talking about Israel? Why are you not talking about other ethno-states? Because we're not funding them, that's why. Do you think that's a fair answer?
It is, but you're also funding Gaza. You're also funding Hamas. Are you aware how many $1 billion Joe Biden gave to Gaza?
Can you name a single politician that says, I stand unilaterally behind Hamas?
No, and they shouldn't.
There's my answer for you.
What do you mean? It's completely different. Who should be standing with Hamas? Who?
No, I know, but the thing is once again, I know you and I disagree. I know. When we're just honestly discussing, though, comparing two things, we're obviously not supporting Hamas in the same way we're supporting Israel. You know that. I know that. Let's not pretend otherwise. When we're talking about equivocation, right? What is the actual issue that where's my bias coming through? I don't care about Israeli news when we're talking about international news. I condemn Hamas, and I equally condemn other ethno-states. I don't think we should support ethnostates in all cases, right? So where do you think the bias is coming from? I just don't support war crimes.
I have no idea because I don't know you on a personal level, so I don't know what is leading you to that. But if you're reading Al Jazeera and taking it as fact, that's a bias in itself.
I don't read Al Jazeera.
You mentioned Al Jazeera before.
I know. I engage in a huge amount of media landscapes. I don't directly read Al Jazeera, though.
Okay, but I'm saying there's many media outlets that are evidently biased and evidently reporting untrue things. For example, the hospital bombed in Gaza, which turned out to be Islamic Jihad, and they blamed Israel very fast, for example, whilst asking for proof of rapes and beheaded babies when it came to Israel saying we suffered this massacre. That's a very clear way in which media can be biased.
Yeah, I don't doubt that media is biased. I just highly doubt that it's biased against Israel.
Why though?
Al Jazeera, maybe. Al Jazeera,
absolutely. But other news outlets.
Reuters, which is centered in Europe and the West.
Sorry?
Why would, for example, NBC or CNN or Fox be biased against Israel?
I would not know their personal agendas, but many news outlets are, though. CNN
Name another one.
That is opposed to Israel or like biased towards Israel?
Bias that you think is biased against Israel?
Well, I think mostly CNN, which you already mentioned.
Why would CNN be biased against Israel?
I do not know. I do not know who their owners are or anything such. I couldn't tell you. I would have to do research on that, but I see that they are biased. And
Warner Bros. owns
like, for example, saying Palestinian militants and not terrorists is a bias in itself again. Calling it the
IDF and not calling it an occupational force is a bias as well. But anyway, why would but the thing is, you're accusing them of bias. Yeah. I think it's nonsense. I think it's obvious that CNN, if anything, would have a bias for Israel.
Why?
Why? Because they're funded by the U.S. government, bro.
And what
CNN needs U.S. government funding and licenses to broadcast. The U.S. government is one of the most consistently pro-Israel organizations in the world, right? We send billions your way, right? So of course,
and you
U.S. One second. Any.
What?
The U.S. is pro-Israel, yes?
Yes. Not as a whole, not every politician.
But the U.S. government is pro-Israel.
Is an ally of Israel, yes.
The U.S., yes. The U.S. government is by and large pro-Israel. So why did you bring up that we send billions to Hamas, which we don't?
You do. Well, not to Hamas.
We send billions. Great.
Well, who?
So why is that relevant?
Who rules Gaza?
Why is that relevant?
Why is it relevant that you fund Israel, but then it's not relevant that you're also funding this terror?
Because our funding is in relation to our political agreement with Israel. Our humanitarian aid to Gaza is not in relation to our political affiliation with Hamas.
Your humanitarian aid to Gaza was used for tunnels and missiles and many other things.
No, I'm aware that some of it was misappropriated. But
some of it
was that
really
America? Yes, some of it. I don't know the proportion.
Hamas provides Palestinians with aid? You believe that?
Some. I mean, you know that.
I do not agree. They get nothing.
You don't believe any aid gets to Palestinians?
I believe a very small amount that must not be significant at all to justify continuing sending money to the area.
How do you suggest these people eat?
I suggest you can make food donations, for example, sending food directly instead of money, billions of dollars.
Which Israel isn't allowing in.
What do you mean? If right now there's trucks going into Gaza with humanitarian aid.
There were 13 trucks total that got in.
Okay, and what? Like, I don't see what the issue.
Also, do you think they're really just sending money into Gaza? Do you think that's
no, not just money, but when you're sending humanitarian
by and large, they're sending what comes in humanitarian aid from your view?
There's
what do you
food,
actually think is part
medicine.
of it? It's mostly food and medicine, right? And necessary things to live, right?
And there's also a lot of money.
I mean, comparatively, not as much.
It's billions of dollars yearly. Billions.
In humanitarian aid.
Yeah, and how do you think they build the tunnels they have underneath all of Gaza, which are super sophisticated, by the way? They cost billions of dollars to build. How do you think they did it? With whose funding?
A lot of Iranian funding, quite honestly.
And not U.S. funding.
I mean, not that we don't give them things by and large they could use to make tunnels. By and large, our aid looks like food and medicine and UN, like medical people.
I have no opposal whatsoever to the entrance of food and medicine to Gaza. That would make no sense. I'm opposed to sending money directly, knowing that Hamas is going to take everything.
Also, they sent 10 million to Gaza.
Okay, that's still a very considerable amount.
Yeah, okay, 1 second. In total, America has sent 243 billion. Let me see what they sent in the last year.
Okay.
Yeah, Israel receives 1.5 billion in 2019.
Okay.
So that is 15 times more in terms of aid, and that's not even including the free trade and military agreements.
Okay.
So, you know what? 1 second, though. We were talking about bias. I think that's really interesting. I don't think for 2 seconds most news media in America is biased against Israel. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't. They're funding their political goals. None of it is oriented towards that. There's no reason they would be biased against Israel. Can you explain to me why they would be biased against Israel? Who would be funding it? Why would they? They're corporations. They need to make money. Most of America is pro-Israel, right? Most of the politicians are pro-Israel, right? Even the liberals, right, by and large, are pro-Israel. Basically, no one is against the funding of Israel in American politics. So, who are they pandering to? Where is this money coming from to fund CNN? Or you just is this just a fundamental victim complex? Like, unless you have an explanation for why they would be biased, I don't believe.
Have you not seen the bias towards Jews that has happened historically nonstop since Jews had began to even exist? Like, are we denying the prevalence of anti-Semitism and the massive bias there is towards Jews worldwide to this day? Like, that's a very simple answer. It's not that hard to understand why.
I know it's anti-Semitism that's leading to this.
I think in great part, yes. Of course, yes.
Okay, and do you believe do you see how much like Islamophobia and anti-Arab sentiment is happening in America as well?
Yeah, that's fucked up. I don't agree with it.
So why do you think the anti-Semitism will... Okay, also, CNN, okay?
Yeah.
Their CEO is Warner Bros. Discovery. Their owner is Warner Bros. Discovery. The CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery is David Zaslav. David Zaslav, can you maybe guess what religion he is?
I mean, obviously he's Jewish, since you're putting it that way. But let me just say...
So, do you believe that... You pointed out CNN.
Yeah.
Do you believe that a Jewish-owned, Jewish-ran news media organization, such as CNN, right, specifically, is perpetuating a clearly anti-Semitic propaganda machine?
Well, it's not about believing. It's the fact that I see their reporting, and it is very biased. It doesn't call terrorism terrorism. It says militants. It only refers to Israel as an occupation force. There's never an adequate usage of words when unfair things happen to Israel. Very rarely. During this last conflict, CNN has been slightly more unbiased than in the past. But
I'm really interested. Who on CNN referred to Israel as who hired by CNN referred to Israeli forces as occupational?
I don't know who, but there's many articles that refer to terrorists as militants, that refer to the idea of the Israeli occupation forces, and many
Were they
things.
maybe like opinion pieces that were like,
I don't think so. It's most of the reporting.
Okay. I'm just really, really intrigued by where you think this bias is coming from, because the only bias I've seen is anti-Israel bias, right? Or is pro-Israel bias, sorry. I don't see why they would have anything else. Like, I think you're just kind of making shit up, honestly. I don't see any reason that they would have a bias. So, I've read a huge amount of the media coming out of this, right? By and large, okay, have I ever seen any of them ever call the IDF a terrorist organization? No.
Because they are.
But the thing is I think it's biased not to. I think they fit all of the definitions.
I
fall under a terrorist organization. Do they call them an occupying colonial force? No. Okay, well, they are. They are an occupying colonial force.
What do you mean they are? The British mandate, like, I didn't want to getting into, like, past history, I don't feel like it's too relevant at the moment. But the British mandate of Palestine, they gave legally the land to Jews, which they had ownership of. It was not a country. It was
nothing about the colonization was legal.
How was it not legal? The British mandate of Palestine granted a piece of the land to Jews, and they offered another piece of land for Palestinians.
Why was that mandate legal? Like,
what do you mean? Because they owned the land.
Why?
Because they colonized it.
Which is illegal.
And America shouldn't exist under that premise. It's also a colonized...
Yeah, the original colonization of America was illegal.
Yeah, but every fucking country in the world is colonized.
So don't call it legal.
Well, but I don't see the relevance, you know? Like,
but you were the one that brought up legality.
But I'm just saying it was legal. Like, the British mandate of Palestine, they were in control of the area. And before the Ottoman...
that's not legality.
The point is, the people that had ownership over the land, which was not a free land...
had violently taken the land, yeah.
Well, they granted... And, like, Palestine was never a country to begin with.
Once you can fall on talking points again and again and again, doesn't prevent it from being a colonial construct.
What do you mean? It's genuinely history. It was never a country.
Yeah, it's a colonial construct. Israel's a colonial construct. I don't doubt that. And the history you just laid out that I already knew, we all already knew, is just their history from colonization. They developed from a colony.
Everyone already knows the history of the Middle East.
I know, but you're here to talk to me, not the audience. So I already knew it. And it's developed from a colony. You and I agree with that. And it's funded and enforced by a colonial power, right? Britain and the West. And it continues to be funded by an imperialist power of the U.S. So, it's a colonial power. But you don't see CNN saying that, do you? So do I think they're biased? Yeah, probably. Yeah, they are a bit biased pro-Israel. And I think their funding and basically any political views that you put on them, they support the Democrats quite clearly. Democrats are pro-Israel, right? So I just don't think the bias is in your favor. Hamas doesn't have, 10 times as large, or it doesn't have a tenth of the propaganda machine that Israel does. Whereas Israel has one of the strongest propaganda machines in the world. So
Hamas thrives off propaganda. It's been a mediatic war.
It does. It's the
first
only day. Propaganda is the only way that Hamas can fight back, really, in terms of hoping to have any impact. But it's also Israel is how its fight back is how Israel defends itself as well. And Israel just has, as with all of the weapons between Israel and Hamas, Israel's winning, and we all know
obviously.
that. Israel wins the propaganda war. That's why I don't believe that the propaganda.
Not true.
That's why I don't. Wait.
If Israel wins the propaganda war, why is anti-Semitism rising worldwide severely? Like, why? If we're winning the propaganda war?
Because Israel and Judaism are not the same thing.
Well, but people do believe it's the exact same thing.
Why do they believe that?
I mean, the Israeli government is not representative of Jewish people. But Israel as a nation...
But why do they believe that? Yeah, it's because the Israeli propaganda machine has consistently pushed that.
What do you mean?
And that harms Jews. Look at that. That's crazy.
I think it's insane that you're blaming anti-Semitism on Israel. That's mad. Like, for real. Really.
I'm not blaming all anti-Semitism on Israel. I just think Israel's making anti-Semitism worse. I've said that before verbatim. You don't have to phrase it in a way that makes me look as if, I'm disrespecting anti-Semitism. I actually want to reduce anti-Semitism. That's why I'm against the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism.
I don't think hate towards civilians anywhere is justified. Hating.
Do I hate the civilians?
I'm just saying Zionist as if it was a bad word is very racist.
What? I'm anti-conservative. Am I against do I hate the conservative civilians? Like, Zionism is a political ideology. I disagree with it. I'm anti-Zionist. Nothing more, nothing less. Like, that's really simple. Why are we grasping at straws like this?
I feel like you're really not particularly willing to hear out the other side. I really feel that, honestly.
What have I not heard from you?
I mean, I feel like you are very defensive and you're very leaning towards just victimizing one side of the conflict and just...
I'm not. I recognize the atrocity that happened against Israelis.
Well, but now you don't support the idea of Israel defending itself, which is very ironic.
When did I say that? What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean now as well? Like, what did I say that just now that said that?
Nothing just now. Like, in general,
so you said just now. So, but well, okay.
Okay, honestly, I'm like getting tired. If that's okay. I'm living war right now. I'm really tired and confused at this point. But I did enjoy talking to you, and yeah, thank you.
Hey, well, I appreciate coming up. Thank you.
Bye.
Peace out. Also, justice for all. You've been spamming in the comments, and I've seen you talking about the hospital. I didn't catch her comment about the hospital. It was a really fast-paced discussion, so that's why I didn't correct it, obviously. But sorry. Okay. Do I still have Wi-Fi? Can y'all still hear me? Yeah, gorge. Okay. Good. Thank you so much. We got 2,000 people on here, which is absolutely gorgeous. So happy to have this type of eyes and ears on the issue. I'm trying to get eyes and ears on the issue more and more. So if you can keep on sending likes, thank you so much for the gifts that boost the live so much. And do follow me up here if you don't already. And do follow my YouTube if you don't already. I will be posting this live on this YouTube if you want to watch it again. The link is in my bio. Anyway, okie dokie. Why is that not moved? Anyway.
Yeah, I heard the whole conversation.
What?
I heard the whole conversation. Just want to ask you, you say that Israel was colonized illegally, right?
Yeah, in violation of what would now be recognized as
you live in
laws,
the US,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You live in the US.
I live currently.
America was formed before, the nations world and everything that has built international law, but the British mandate ruled Israel because of international law. So how come you say here it was illegal, but do you think you live in a legal state that was formed legally?
No.
Okay, so if it's not relevant and you're not getting the hell out of America, so why is it relevant here now?
Well, I don't think that all Israelis should leave Israel. So you're just strawmanning what I said.
Do you know they even butchered people in 1921, 1920?
No, like if you ask me a question, like I never said that all Israelis. But the thing is I never said.
I'm asking you. It's a conversation.
It's a conversation. I'm going to engage in the first point you made. We're not going to pivot around everywhere. So, do I believe they were made in violation of international law? Yeah, because they made two mutually exclusive agreements with the Arabs and the Jews. Right? They said they would establish. Okay, shush.
What agreement? What agreement?
Do you want to ask it a fourth time?
Tell me what's the agreement. Who agreed?
So the British government made a promise to the Arabs at the time, right? Under the Foucault-Sykes agreement, right? It wasn't directly in the Foucault-Sykes agreement or Sykes-Picot agreement, directly after it. They agreed to make an Arab state at the time, right? And then they made a promise in the Balfour Declaration to give one to the Jews, right? Those are two mutually exclusive agreements that they then tried to reconcile, right? So, that's in violation of international law. But yeah, I don't believe colonization is acceptable.
You're talking about an agreement that was made, right? Before they came here, the British men, they didn't have any resolution about anything, and then the Holocaust.
I'm gonna get someone who can debate productively. It's been 2 hours. I'm done. But let's see. I don't think that's good. Okay, so if you agree with me, drop out of the guest requests. If you agree with me, drop out of the guest requests, please. I just want someone who can disagree functionally. And if you agree with me, and I let you up, it's gonna be really awkward because I'm gonna be like, oh, cool, but
Hello, Will.
Yellow.
So I've been listening to your conversation, and and English is not my first language, so if I say something that's not appropriate. So I've been listening to her, and she said British government granted Israel to Israeli, to Jewish, basically. So I would like to say something. Do you have a car?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I will give you a car. My cousin. How's that?
What?
It's a logic question, so basically, sorry.
Make your point. Tell me what your thesis is.
So, how can someone... I don't own something, I don't own a car, and I give someone's car to you. It doesn't work, right?
Well, so if I steal a car and then I sell it to you and you give me money, I've given you the car and I've sold it to you, but illegally.
Illegally, yeah. So that's the point that she was making, and it didn't make sense.
It was a bad point.
Yeah, so I wanted to discuss with her about that point, and she dropped. So
you went? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Appreciate.
Thank you. Have a good one.
See how that was awkward, everyone? Because he agreed with me, and that's not the point of this live. Also, for everyone asking what my position is, this is my position. This is the topic, right? Is I'm advocating the end of American funding of it, right? And then we can go from there, right? So I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm not suggesting a solution. This is what I'm suggesting. Okay? It's our funding, it's our point. Thank you so much to that person for that.
Hello?
Hi, would you send a guest request to
Hello? I was actually
hi, would you send a guest request to Oh no. Hello? We got some echoing, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Will.
Hi, would you send a guest request to disagree on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Yeah, I'm from Malaysia, and we in Malaysia are, of course, we know the history between Palestine and Israel. And I have to say that I agree with the points, and I just want to know, what do you think going to happen next?
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally Gaza is going to be leveled is probably what's going to happen. So it's not good.
It's not good, right? So I really adore this live session, and I hope that many more live session like this would happen, and people would really see what the real news is, rather than being bombarded by all the Israel propaganda. So that's
Great.
just
Thank you so much.
All
I appreciate
right.
coming up. I'll see you.
Okay.
Thing is like people are either not loading or send a guest request if you disagree with me, everyone. This is not difficult. This is not difficult. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, would you send a guest request to disagree on?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, great. Peace out. Okay. I'm pissing a lot of people off, but like, oh well.
Controllers don't work. I can't even play. I gotta get new controllers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So I strongly disagree on one of your major points. You said something about a two-state solution.
I don't know what I said about a two-state solution. What's the part you disagree with?
Someone asked you what do you see as a positive outcome, and you said that you propose a two-state solution.
I don't think I said that was a positive outcome. I said that that's the first viable outcome.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, you mentioned it as an outcome. Wait, but you don't necessarily agree with a two-state solution. That's
not morally? I pragmatically do. Also, your audio is like actually making me want to like cry and die. So sorry. Bro, I'm not going to show positive energy. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
So I just got into the live. So what's your idea for the best solution if not a two-state solution?
I mean, I wasn't advocating a two-state solution immediately. I was just saying America should stop funding the attacks and violations of human rights being committed daily by Israel.
But you're not funding, I'm Israeli, you're not funding Israeli, you're just funding your own economy.
We are funding Israel right now. We send $3 billion to Israel.
Yeah. So let me explain you. You're American?
I am American. I live in the UK, though.
You live in the UK. Okay, let me explain you. So you probably didn't check. Every money that Israel gets from America or whatever, we need to at least 80% of this to buy weapons from the US. I don't know if you know, Israel are manufacturing weapons number 4 in the world. We don't need American weapons. So
okay, then you can stop using it. If you don't think we need you, then
just a second. We don't want American money. Don't even think we want American money. Israel don't want American money. We don't need it.
Okay, cool. Then we agree. They should stop giving it to them.
Stop what?
Giving it to the Israelis.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you get why are they giving us that?
I mean, for a huge amount of reasons, but like primarily due to a weapons partnership as well as importance and power in the Middle East.
No, it's only to get money back to the economy because the American economy is dying. Just one more fact. $50 billion are going on the budget for healthcare rip-offs, like people who scam healthcare. 50 billion in the budget for healthcare scamming. So 10 billion, 6.
Hey man, hope you're well. Anyway, I just want to make a couple of points. I do believe there's a lot of people out there that think this all started, on October 7th, and basically that's the first they ever heard of it. I'm sure there are people around the world that had no idea that this was going on, and the first thing that they ever heard was obviously the 7th of October. Apart from that, I'm just saying that I've been listening to your live stream for a while now, and I've totally loved basically how you're not really picking any side and you're just pointing facts. But yeah, I'm just gonna get off now. I'm just saying that you're doing an awesome job. I've loved it, and I look forward to the other videos that you do. So peace out, brother.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, end all U.S. military funding of Israel until the heinous war crimes are done. Hello. Oh. Crazy, losing my mind, dying, crying, throwing up, shitting myself. Ah. Oh, it's so dark. Hello. We got some high quality debates, everyone. No, Ronnie.
Hello.
Hi, would you send a guest request to disagree on?
I'm just sorry. I just want to say something to the girl before this.
Nothing.
Like,
Yo.
Hello. What's up?
Can you hear me?
Guest request to disagree on?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that you cannot colonize your own indigenous land. Do you agree?
You cannot colonize. I mean, I imagine you can. You just might be justified in doing so.
No, you can, because the definition is to colonize the indigenous people.
Yeah, and you did colonize an indigenous people.
No, we were there first. No.
I mean,
no,
you
we
literally were not there first.
No, we were there first.
I mean, you literally were not, right? Like, you
Did you want to go back to history? Do you want to go back to history?
I mean, I don't doubt that there have been... You don't understand the spirit of what I'm saying. You and your parents were not there literally first, right? The people you claim... Yeah,
my ancestors.
You claim, yeah, great, yeah. Your ancestors, great.
Yeah.
Were there as well as the ancestors of Palestinians.
No, actually, there's genetics that shows that all the Palestinians that have genetics to this land have Jews genetics too. Do you understand?
Yeah. So all of them.
Let me finish, please. No, please. It's not all of them. Please, please let me finish. So every one of those Palestinians that have Jews genetics, it means that they converted to Islam when the Ottoman Empire conquered the land. So my point is, it's the Jewish land. The Jews were there first. I'm for two states, yeah, but what I'm saying is that you cannot say that we colonized this country because we were there first. Okay.
So what did I verbatim say, actually?
What?
What did I actually verbatim say? I use my words very precisely.
Can you tell me what you said?
I said that Israel was a colonial construct.
Okay, so let's go back to 48, can we?
No, yeah, so Israel was a colonial construct. Was Israel created and funded by a colonial power?
But you can colonize your own country.
Answer my question.
You understand? No, you cannot colonize your own country.
Was Israel created by a colonial power?
No. Wait a minute. Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, he's 18, yo. Was Israel created? Okay. Britain was not a Britain, one second, Ronnie. Was Britain a colonial power?
Britain, yeah.
Okay. Did Britain create what eventually became Israel?
They gave the land to Israel.
Wonderful. They created it effectively. They create what effectively became Israel.
Okay, but
Israel was created by a colonial power. What happens when you're created by a colonial power is you are a colonial construct.
No, because you were there first. You cannot colonize your own country.
No.
Okay, so I want to show you. No, do you know what was the appeal commission?
What?
Do you know what was that? Yeah. When we offered 80%. No, before that. Way before that. 80% to the Arabs, 20% to the Jews. Jews agreed, Arab declined. We're going back to 48, two-state solution. Jews agreed, Arabs declined and attacked Israel with 5 different Arab countries. They lost. Okay?
What was the proportion in the Peel Commission? I actually haven't looked into it.
80% to Arabs, 20% to Jews. You can check this.
Conclusions drawn.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
I'm not immediately getting that information, but
for everyone in the comments that say that I'm lying, you can check it. I'm not lying.
Oh, but the Jews get Tel Aviv and Haifa.
No, but 20%, 80%. There's no excuses. Okay, we agreed. They declined.
Wait, but the Jews get Tel Aviv, Jaffa, Haifa, Acre, as well as Tiberias along the river. So they get a huge amount of the fertile land, right? And then there's an international area around Jerusalem. Was this ever actually proposed?
Yes, and they have declined, and they said that they want. Do you know what the Arab leader said? Let me tell you. 1 second.
Oh yeah, okay. The Palestinian Arab Society rejected the partition plan.
And called for an independent states of Palestine.
For the Arabs, the plan envisioned giving Zionists the best land, with 82% of Palestine's principal export, citrus fruit,
No. But the Arab leader opposed the idea of a Jewish state and called for an independent state of Palestine. Okay.
Yeah, and they denied it because you gave the best land to the Jews.
No, so 20%. 20%, 80%. So let's go back to
you're really stuck on that. You know one fact, but like there's things other than that. There's desert in Palestine. You know that.
And you know,
so let's just be honest. No, but talk about this plan. Talk about this plan. The 20% that they gave the Jews would give 82% of Palestine's principal export, citrus, to Jewish control. That plan would economically cripple the Palestinian owners, the Palestinian.
No. But actually, let me tell you something. All the area that in the 20% was by Jews. Jews bought it. Okay, Jews. There is a. Do you know how do this man call?
If we want to talk about, are you saying that there were Jewish labor unions in that area that were
I'm saying that the 20% of that, the Jews bought it. Okay, so it was there. But can you tell me how long? No, I want to ask you a question. Can you tell me how long have they been occupying the West Bank and Gaza?
How long have they been occupying the West Bank and Gaza?
Yeah.
What, since 1967, and then they ended occupation of the West Bank in 2006 while maintaining a blockade after 2014.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question? We didn't occupy the West Bank.
This isn't going to become like a history test. Like, what's your point? You need to make an argument.
My point is, why before 67 there was still a conflict?
Because there was still occupation of land.
No, we didn't occupy.
You didn't occupy Gaza or the West Bank, right?
Before 67.
But you consistently encroached upon land.
No, we didn't. No.
Okay, Ronnie, if you ask me a question, if you ask me a question,
yeah.
What do I expect you to do? What do I expect you to do, Ronnie, if you ask me a question?
Okay, answer the question.
Do you understand that expectation?
Answer the question.
Do you understand that expectation?
Mm-hmm.
Will you respect it?
Absolutely.
Then let's go forward doing that. Why was there still violence? Well, there was maintained violence between Jewish settlers and Zionist leaders and Palestinians and Palestinians.
That's not true. That's not true. For every terrorist attack that the Palestinians made, there was something called the reprisal from the military, the IDF, when they attacked the terrorists.
Wait, but
so there was no.
If we're talking a continued set of violence from like the 1880s when Jewish colonizers.
I'm talking about 48.
You're talking post 48.
48, 67.
Yeah, so there was consistent violence between the two, and there was consistent. So at the very least, the denial of Nakba refugees. Right.
Okay.
I want to stop speaking.
I want to address that. Can I address that?
You can address it after I'm done finishing.
Okay.
So the denial of Nakba refugees is in violation of international law, has been recognized as in violation of international law. Violating international law is violence.
Okay. So can I address that? Okay. So in 48, when 5 different Arab countries attacked Israel, actually, most of the Arabs left before Israel even got there, because the Arab country, they were so sure that they're going to win against the Jews. They were so sure, so they told the Arabs to leave, and then they will come back. I'm not denying that some Arabs did get kicked out, but most of them left on their own, because the 5 different Arab countries attacked us. Okay.
And why did they leave, though?
Because 5 different Arab countries told them, go, and then come back when we will win against the Jews.
But why would they have to
Because they didn't want them to be inside the war area.
Oh, war area.
You understand?
Okay, and who would be attacking them?
Defending. If someone is attacking you are defending.
Who would be attacking that area?
Who will be attacking the area? The IDS.
Okay, so they were expelled.
Why would the IDS?
Yeah, no, you can talk about the justification of
I know. You
can talk about the justification for the IDF violence, but it is true they were expelled because of violence within their region. They're not responsible for the violence by who? No. They're not responsible for the violence by those Arab countries. You don't believe civilians are responsible for the violence of their governments, right?
No.
So we're not going to blame. So we're not going to blame, right, the Arab civilians for the violence of the Arab countries. Is that what we're going to do? Is that what we're going to do?
No, I didn't blame him. I'm saying
okay, cool.
That's not my point. But that's not my point.
My point is they were expelled because of violence within their region.
So who is the responsible? Who do you put the responsibility for the
no one's responsible. No one's responsible.
Okay, so Israel doesn't responsibility.
No. This is fascinating.
Responsibility for that.
Every country has an international obligation to respect international rights, human rights. Israel has signed on to this pact just like everyone else. One of those rights that people have is the right of return. Okay? And when you are expelled from a country due to violence within that country, that later you have the right to return when it is more peaceful, which is now.
But it wasn't more peaceful.
So 1 second, Ronnie.
It wasn't more peaceful.
One second, Ronnie. It
wasn't peaceful. Okay.
It is is now more peaceful.
Now, in this very moment,
like the places they were expelled from, right? Like in homeland Israel.
No,
like
there was still terrorist attack. There was still terrorist attack.
This is nonsense. Obviously, it's more peaceful than an active attack. Wait, Ronnie, do you know? More, 1 second, Ani, it's obviously more peaceful than an active war zone.
But
you know
it's
that,
still
right?
Not peaceful. Yes, but it's still not peaceful. There was still a terrorist attack. There were still terrorist attacks.
Do you want to say it a fourth time?
Nope.
What was there still, Ronnie?
You can tell me.
Was there still the terrorist attack?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say it again? Do you want to make yourself feel better?
No, you can say it again if you want.
Okay. So, do you believe that if Israel signs an international treaty, they should abide by
it? Yeah, maybe. It depends on the situation.
When is it acceptable to break the law?
It's not acceptable to break the law.
Okay. So them violating an international treaty would be breaking the law. So do you believe that they should respect the law?
No, actually not. If people from that area are committing terrorist attacks, you can say to us to bring some of them back. Okay? We're not going to risk our civilians. Do you understand that? Do you understand that we're not going to risk our civilians?
That's not even the excuse logical. That Israel provided.
That's logical.
Do you know one of the primary excuses that Israel provided for denying the Nakba refugees?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what they said?
You can. There's a lot of them. You can tell me. Which one are you talking about?
They claimed it would be a demographic threat. Is something being a demographic threat an acceptable reason to violate international law?
But there was multiple reasons, not just one. You cannot cherry pick just that only reason. Do you understand that?
I'm just saying that. I'm asking you if that's an acceptable reason.
No, but there's more reason, not just that.
Okay, cool. Wonderful.
Okay.
So
exactly.
Let's say, for example, the refugees in Jordan, right, where there are not active attacks from Jordan or terroristic attacks from Jordan going on. Do you believe they should accept the refugees from?
But
do you believe
there were still
terrorist
attacks from Jordan? But there were still terrorist attacks from Jordan. Okay, so don't say that.
I'm talking specifically. Let's talk now. Then Do you believe they should accept the Nakba refugees from Jordan?
But there was. What do you mean now?
Now, there are Nakba refugees in Jordan. Should they be accepted back into Israel, where they were driven out of?
Maybe in Palestine, not in Israel. In the West Bank or Gaza.
Wait, but that's not where they were driven out of.
That doesn't matter.
So you don't believe that they should respect their international right to return?
I don't believe that they have the right to return to Israel. I don't believe they have the right.
Israel has recognized a right of return.
But I don't believe they have the right to return. Okay.
But Israel has. So do you disagree with Israel's international obligation?
Yeah.
Okay, then take that up with the Israeli government. You think it is acceptable for the Israeli government to violate the international law? Cool.
No,
we both
I believe
international law. What year were you born, Ronnie?
2005.
2005. Okay. Enjoy your day. Okay. I'll probably make a little bit of a little exit because I'm tie-tie. I'm tired. And then I'll probably be later on later. But okay. I do also literally have a headache. This is so bad. Okay. Thank you so much for everyone watching. Truly so much. I'll be uploading this probably on my YouTube. If I don't, it'll be on my Patreon in a bit. Do follow my Patreon. That's the most direct way to support this. Thank you so much for everyone slaying. Keep your eyes and ears on this issue. I'm trying to build awareness for this issue. That's why I want to have a live on this. That's why I want to discuss it. That's why I talk like this. So thank you so much for everyone. I'll give everyone kind of a second. Do follow me. Do take a second and follow my YouTube. I really appreciate people following my YouTube because TikTok is not a big fan of me, and TikTok is coming after a lot of people's accounts right now, like a lot of people's accounts. And that's no fun. So yeah, thank you. My YouTube is the link is in my bio directly. So thank you so much for everyone who's going out and doing that. Yeah, great. Okay. Much love to everyone, and peace out.
Sorry, how do I say your name? Asrar Samar? Sorry,
Yeah.
Thank you
if
for...
you're gonna go, yeah, no, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
You take care. Like I said, everybody, be sure to follow Dawa Over Dunya right here. Follow Dawa Over Dunya right now. Seriously, if you love Palestine, follow Dawa Over Dunya. If you don't follow Dawa Over Dunya, that means you don't love Palestine. You don't love Palestine, okay? And also, if you love Palestine, also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dawa Over Dunya on YouTube, right? It's the same thing, Dawa Over Dunya. Go check it out. It's the same symbol as this one. Follow here. Subscribe on YouTube. Also follow us on Instagram, Dawa Over Dunya. And with that, brothers and sisters, everyone have a good day, have a good night, wherever you may be. Wassalamu alaikum. And also, of course, free Palestine. Wassalamu alaikum. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. One last thing. Be sure to check out this book. There is a free PDF online. You guys Google this, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Blape. It's a very good book. If you have to only read one book on the history of Palestine, this book right here, by an anti-Zionist Israeli historian. So don't give me that anti-Semitic. Don't play the anti-Semite card on me. All right. Anyway, brothers and sisters, yeah, I know it's a dumb book, right? It's yeah, of course it is, right? It's only the most well-known anti-Zionist book out there, right? Anyway, brothers and sisters, have a good day, have a good night. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you guys later.